Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the October edition of the Round Table tonight. Get my throat going there. My name is Dave Scott. I am your host of this show. Yeah, we're going to do the Round Table tonight. I got my nice hat on and my beard rocking. So realistically, it's a good night. Hey, we got Nicole. We got Sweet Robbie G. We got Timmy, Terry, and his Lit Blade. And Lorian Fenton here as our guests. And we have all of you, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Laura Lobbs in the silver, and B with a nice bronze medal tonight. Hello, Dino Bravo and Robert Lamoth. Dogman UK, Artoon, welcome to SOR Chat. Karen E., welcome to SOR Chat. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? Derek Galloway, what's happening, man? And Kurt M., Dogface Simon, Nikki in Seattle, Lee the Bee, Vash the Impaler, Kathy Evans, and Nancy Thames. Good to have you all here. Moving on, Desert Rat, and a no-name brand right there. And Kevin will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Griff, Luscious Jewels, our favorite Marine Black Dragon, thank you for your service, my man. Very much appreciate it. And continuing on with roll call, Lord Buckethead, rock on to you, my friend. W. Decker. Lars Janssen, he's wearing Peter Klima's old number 85. He's from Stockholm, Sweden, by the way. Okay, moving on. Millennium, my man, Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee, two separate entities. The gorgeous Cryptid Huntress, Christy Abels. Why Native, thank you for joining us. And who else do we have here? That's it. Are we seriously caught up? Oh, no, this skipped on me. That's what happened. Welsh Hammer, just another guy named Harry. Richard Elmore, Patriotic Yank, welcome back. Patriotic Yank will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Ozzy, Skip to Malou, what's happening? Forrest Louie, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. So you do almost each and every night here, my man. We love your support each and every night here. Thank you so much. Mark Sanchez and his Hawaiian shirts. Good to see you. And Thomas Rock, Vinman, Christine Lynn. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. W. David Page, Mary R., the purple-haired Pixie Lara. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for coming on in as we continue on with roll call tonight. And, okay, now I got to go back the other way, see what's happening here on this side. Nick Adkins, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Pam Harris. I feel like I'm in slow motion tonight. J-Don, Vanessa, thank you for coming on in. And Pouty Baby, welcome to SOR Chat. Now we're caught up. Susan Alloway, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, in the chat room, oh God, I forgot to start the radio side. We're going to need that. All right. We open that up to Bill WD-40 so that way he can lube us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. So we'll wait for Bill to join on in. And Brumtops, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Who else is joining us here? Marty Burback, good to see you again. And once again, the super chat is open. You can do some shopping at spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. We got swag you want to wear. And don't forget, you can also join our Space Travelers Club on Patreon. The link is in the YouTube description below. We got like 5 seconds. Maybe I can find some energy. Let's see what this theme song by Mr. Bumblefoot can do. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can find us on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It is that time of the month once again where we say hello, how are you, and goodbye and see you later to the month of October. And we do this with a little ditty we call the SOR Round Table. This is where I gather up a bunch of friends and we talk about the strange month it was in the news and reviews that made this past month a little interesting in what we do. We got a hell of a panel tonight joining us as we got Sweet Robbie G from the After Hours along with Nicole Weber. Lorian Fenton, one of the best people in the world when it comes to everything UFOs and the knowledge behind the scenes. We got Terry Hall and his beautiful mustache, which is part of our inside group here on Spaced Out Radio. And from the UFO Report, Tim Spore. Now, it's been a month of UFO stuff that we will get to here momentarily. But first, it's Halloween time. And we are just so close to Halloween. And I will get to some of your stories here very quickly. But it's a great time of the year because we're all talking ghosts. We're all talking ghouls and goblins and everything that goes in between. And let's start off with you, Ms. Lorian Fenton. I know you love this time of year. Tell us about your spooky Halloween story.
Oh my God. Let's see. What have I got for a spooky Halloween story for you guys? Well, I can tell you I did have a big keg party on October 31st. It was back in 1974, I think. And what we did, and you guys are going to love this because my parents are still angry about it. I took all their Christmas lights, and all of us were putting on this big party. Took all the Christmas lights too. And we went up to this place called Forest Park in Portland, Oregon. And we went way out in the middle of nowhere and we did a seance. And it was really fun. But we had generators going with all the Christmas lights on. And in the middle of the seance at the party, all the Christmas lights blew up while we were talking to this entity. It was really crazy. And to this day, we can't figure out what happened because the generators were fine. They were full of gasoline. They were running. Everything was great. And so just bizarre. They just blew up right in the middle of us all doing this seance, trying to talk to a friend of ours who just died on a motorcycle about a week before. It was nuts.
So you weren't trying to contact Beelzebub himself.
Oh, no. But I think our friend was sending us a nice message like, hey, I'm just going to put you guys in the dark out in the middle of the forest in the middle of nowhere. Okay. It was pretty fun. It scared the bejesus out of all of us. And we never did get those strands of lights working again. We all had to pull out flashlights for the rest of the night. So it was pretty wild.
All right, Terry Hall, let's get to your freaky Halloween story that you remember.
Actually, it's about the very house that I'm sitting in right now. When we moved in here, my daughter has the bedroom that's on the very far side of the house. Well, every time she walked into her bedroom door, and she told me this basically since we moved in here, that it felt funny, cold, weird, like somebody was watching her. So, about 8 months after we moved in here, I decided I was going to crawl up in the attic and see what was up there. Well, lo and behold, what was right above Macy Ray's door, my daughter, was a hand carved Ouija board. And no doubt it was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. However, during that point in time we had a very large dumpster out in front of my house because we were doing some quote unquote spring cleaning, as my wife likes to call it. I call it torture. But anyway, said Ouija board went into the dumpster. The very next morning, I woke up and it was sitting on my front porch.
Wow.
That Ouija board went into the burn pile out back. I haven't seen it since then, but yeah. So Macy not only sensed it, but basically located it. We put it in a dumpster. It was on my front porch the next morning, and I burn it. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That is creepy. That is totally creepy. Sweet Robbie G.
Yo.
Your
And no,
favorite
hold on,
story.
I gotta address one thing really quick. No, Van, well, I'm not a hoarder. When we moved into the property here, we bought it from a hoarder. Just to clear that up.
Okay. Glad you're not hoarding. Robbie G, your favorite Halloween story, my man.
Favorite Halloween story. So it doesn't have to be related to me at all.
Well, it would be preferred if it was. Come on, let's get on a roll here, guys.
Because all I have is I don't really have anything spooky like that. What I do have is just my shadow person and just that whole event and the footsteps that I heard walking across my roof when no one should have ever been up there, and feeling like those two things were related and essentially I'm living with something potentially that I'm not understanding. So that's about the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me.
Well, tell us the story.
Oh, okay. Well, you want the whole okay. So
Come on, you're killing me,
what
Smalls.
had
You're
happened
killing me,
was
Smalls.
what had happened was I was in the studio, and this just happened over various nights. I'd be sitting right where I'm sitting right now. This is my studio / man cave as well. So spend a lot of time in here, and I'm in here at sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, as people would call in show know for sure I'm in here that late. And I would hear literally right above my head things walking, like literally footsteps, clear as day footsteps, step across the roof, across my head, like someone's up there doing work. And obviously no one's up there or should be up there. So for the longest time I felt like that this was sort of kind of when I first moved here. So I would feel like there were potentially people living up there in the attic, which sounds crazy, but I'm like, man, that's the only explanation. Like somebody's coming in here late at night, like maybe they need somewhere to sleep, or I don't know what it is, but it was the only thing I could think of
Oh
until I
man,
put two and two together.
Robbie's got froggers,
Dude, straight up. I'm like, because I'm
ghostly
thinking,
froggers.
Yeah,
I'm not
for
thinking in
sure.
any paranormal sense at the time. I'm just thinking that there's literally someone up there and trying to figure out why that would be. And then it all pretty much connected when I spoke to my daughter, who had the same uh, thing happen to her, where she heard the same thing. And then we had our shadow person maybe within 6 months of that captured on a camera. And then that's when, yeah, there's something here, and I don't know what it is. It hasn't, we haven't seen or heard anything from it since the shadow person picture, which we took about a year ago. And but yeah, and I guess that's the spooky thing that's still spooky for me to this day.
That shadow person picture that you guys took was a full body apparition. That was pretty mind blowing, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to see it again. I don't want to see it again because I'd known a little bit about shadow people. Then I've recently done a show on shadow people, so I know a lot about them at this point, and I'd rather not see that thing again. I'm just hoping that since the activity died off, that maybe it left, maybe it was satisfied knowing with knowing that I was aware of it, and now it was able to move on. Hopefully that's the case.
All right. Let's go over to Nicole Weber here. We're glad to have you back, Nicole. And what is
Yeah.
your spooky Halloween story?
Okay, mine's a little bit different. And I'll explain why. Because I grew up seeing spirits. They didn't really scare me. Like when dishes would fly, or I'd actually kind of get excited, But I have seen some things. I don't know if I can share the screen or not, but it does come into like a cocoon. Like you can actually see, like, Rob, I think you were on last time when we pulled that picture. And then, so we got it in a graveyard and a cemetery. And anyway, it just like the occurrence of all of it was unbelievable. It's like so intense when you go through it. There's just so much. But I guess when I was growing up and I was like a teenager and it kind of increased then. So then I was a part of a group that taught me how to kind of use it so it wasn't so intrusive. I used to get people like coming and asking me to deliver toys or like around Christmas. This is no joke. And it was like almost too much. So I went out and I started to investigate it. And I've like literally some of the stuff has been, I just want to find the one picture. I'm going to throw it on my record because I couldn't figure out what this is. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's like a cocoon. And there's like something in that cocoon. And it's just like you can slowly see it come out. So yeah, I'll show it later. I totally forgot about the radio side. But yeah, it's unbelievable. Some of the stuff that you can catch. And it's right there around you. So my stories are, like I said, I don't run from paranormal. I run towards it. I have like some pretty cool equipment that I take out. Sometimes it's like a hobby. So yeah. Sorry, Dave. I know that's probably a disappointing story.
That's all right. Let's go to MC Nor.
Scared me, yeah.
MC Nor, your weird, scary story. And I have a feeling yours didn't happen on Halloween.
This guy. The largest freestanding log barn in British Columbia on a cold night. No, I can't. No, but I do. I've got a fantastic ghostly highway story. And it did take place, with me not too long ago. So I can kind of tell you from my perspective, it was spooky. I had an experience where my wife and I were driving back on Highway 5 from Portland to our home in Salem. And we were getting off, and this was about 11:30, 12 p.m. at night, and it was just the two of us in the car, and we weren't playing music. We were just chatting, and I was actually in the passenger seat because I have night blindness. So my wife was driving, and we were taking the exit for Salem, and as we did, on the passenger side of, um, so right where the highway splits off for the exit, uh, there was a dark shadow at about 6 feet that just seemed to like just be standing kind of in that median as we were exiting the throughway. And I saw it. It looked just like a shadow, but a human shaped shadow standing there. And it just looked so odd because our beams were on it. So it was odd to see a dark space where the high beams were, And so as we're exiting, we pulled around, and sure enough, I looked over at my wife and she looked at me, and I'm like, "Did you see something?" She's like, "What did you see?" I'm like, "Did you see something kind of dark?" And she's like, "In a human shape." And we were like finishing each other's sentences on what we'd both seen. So it was relatively confirming. I've never really talked about it. I don't know what it was because, obviously you can't replace something that's spontaneous and I don't have a dash cam, which is kind of one of those moments where I was like, boy, I wish I'd invested in the dash cam because that would have been amazing to be able to revisit. But it was one of those things. I don't necessarily know anything about ghosts, really. And I wouldn't know if I'd even seen one. But when I hear descriptions from people, and the more I've heard, that story sticks out to me as potentially something that I experienced with my wife that felt as real as it gets to something that potentially happened. I mean, and think about the places where you might see a spirit next to a highway on a median, at an exit, and who knows who or how that got there, but it was spooky to me.
That is kind of weird. My
You know
story
what?
would be
Can you say one more thing really quick? Just to back off Terry's. My grandmother used to have one of those wooden Ouija boards, and it had the glass and the pendulum, and it was carved. It was really beautiful. It's like wooden, and she got rid of it because like they were in a group, and she swears it levitated the table. And for the only way she could get it out, and this is going way back, is they had to knock the glass out of the pendulum, and she would never touch it ever since then. So that's all I wanted to say. So that's kind of my spooky story. But Dave, I'd love to hear yours. I just had before I forgot, I had to tell you this.
years ago when we were trick or treating, taking my son around to this subdivision, and it was a clear, cold night. And some of you will understand on the panel, Lorian especially, I know you will, when I say this about how you feel when there's UFOs around.
Yeah.
You just know. So as we're walking through this subdivision and my son's going door to door, I am looking around the sky trying to see what was going on. And lo and behold, I end up seeing a UFO performing figure eights in the sky over our community. Okay, we don't have big airplanes or airports or anything that kind of goes around our area. No, we don't have that. So here I am walking down the street and I'm waiting for something ghostly to happen, but nothing ghostly happens. No, the aliens came by to say, hey, we're trick or treating too. So that would be my creepiest Halloween story, is watching a UFO doing figure eights over my town. All right, we got 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break. We're going to move on to our next topic of the night, threat or no threat, because recent reports in the UFO world coming out of Washington, D.C., is that, guess what? What we have been telling you on this show for over 2 years, 5 years, since the inception of the To the Stars Academy, there is no UFO threat. And now, Tim, we're going to start with you on this one because you were the guy who read the story off about UFO threat narrative and that there isn't one. Lo and behold, according to Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that the new report this year that just came out really does kind of suggest that they may be trying to squash any threat narrative that's being put forward. And I kind of wonder why. We know that so far it's been the energetic wind in the sails of disclosure. It's definitely gotten, a lot of ears in the Congress and up on the Hill. So we have to consider, why is this aspect of UAP not being talked about? Because we know that potentially they share the skies with our pilots and the people that are on board aircraft. And you want to say there's near misses, well, that's enough. And so in everyone's opinion, they're kind of willing to admit that that exists, but they're not willing to call that a threat. I feel like that's enough in my own opinion. I think that there's a lot of people pushing for that to be enough. But Sean Kirkpatrick feels that there's no aggressive behavior coming from UAP. And I can say that at least this audience, and Dave, you probably support at least that there's been nothing aggressive that we can at least report on, say, from UAP and UFO.
Well, one thing I'd like to add to that too is this is different, because when we brought this story up, a couple people in our chat room on YouTube had stated, well, there have been people injured by UFOs after having close encounters with them, like Rendlesham Forest. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, we have heard nothing but this threat narrative that they are, and a good one to pick out for that is Ryan Graves, the former fighter pilot, who is literally going around any podcast and anybody will let him talking about threats to the federal aviation and to commercial aviation and to military aviation, that we got to do something about these UAPs because pretty soon an accident's going to happen. And he has literally built a company around this. And now that's not a shot at our good friend Ryan Graves. Okay, but that's the reality. That's the message he is portraying, Tim. That has nothing to do with something like Rendlesham Forest or the Falcon Lake incident where Stefan Mikulek was burned by the craft taking off. That's not
Right.
a threat. That was a close encounter. Lorian, I see you nodding your head there. I want to get your opinion.
Yeah, and don't forget about Travis and the myriad of people that have been injured in some way, shape, or form. And to a T, every last one of them says the same thing. Hey, I put myself in that situation, or something happened and I was stupid, or whatever. They never said that the ET was out to actually hurt them in any way that they could tell. Now, I'm separating this from abduction, when you're being examined on the table, because we all know that, we necessarily, that is an abduction. It's not, we don't give them permission to do it. But like you said, Dave, the things in the sky, there will never be an accident, ever. Okay? Those guys in those ships will never crash with us. Now, they may crash on their own because of something we do to them, and that's completely different than them hitting us in midair, ever. It'll never happen. Their technology is so superior to ours, they can't hit us. So, anyhow, that's just my take on it. I get really angry when I hear this whole thing about how we're going to hit each other in midair.
I get that. We're going to get the rest of the reaction from Mr. Robbie G, Nicole Weber from After Hours, Terry Hall, our insider with a fantastic handlebar mustache, little Timmy Senor, and the UFO report, and of course, longtime experiencer and researcher Lorian Fenton. We'll be right back on SOR. All right, we are clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna counter your argument, David Scott.
How many minutes do we have, Dave, before we go back? I know that
We got 4.5.
Not enough for you to do what you want to do, so hurry up.
Oh, I just want to. Yeah, Terry. Give me a snitch. Or what is it? Snitches get stitches. Is that what they say?
Yeah. Move it, girl. Go on. Get.
Is that a cigarette calling her?
Could be.
Could be. How's your cigarette experience going, Dave?
What cigarette experience?
You're not smoking anymore?
I never have.
He's not smoking any less either.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I have not heard from Katy Perry yet. So after 2 years, Lorian, I finally got my regression therapy.
You did? Who did you go to?
Geraldine did it in San Francisco when I was there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and let's see the highlights of it. I have a connection to
Oh my God.
to Katy Perry.
What?
Yeah, where she's apparently listened to the show, but I have no idea that she has. And that her and I have met off craft or on craft. And what else can I tell you? I have a handler. And this is an interesting one. This is one that I would like to talk to you about.
That I'm curious about that.
I have a handler named Paul. And one that I already know, I am part reptilian from Orion.
That makes sense.
Below the belt.
Dude, can Paul make birds?
You're reptilian from the waist down? Is that the problem?
Can Paul bring birds back to life and then eat them?
I don't hear you. Your picture's not up.
Well, that's because I'm hiding for a minute. I'll be right back.
Yep, then take a break.
Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
I got lots to fill you in on.
So everybody just leaves and we're sitting here on YouTube live, right?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
I didn't leave. I just had to. Mother Nature was calling.
You had a cigarette.
Dave has certain rules that we have to adhere by.
Yeah,
I understand.
Hey, Guy in the chat room. My buddy Guy.
Now there was one person in the chat we were talking about cigarettes that quoted a Monty Python movie. Smoking a pancake, creeping a pipe.
Melinda's texting me, Dave.
Oh, does she want to come in too?
No, she doesn't know we're on air.
Oh.
We're talking about our trip to Long Beach together in December, and we're going to Vegas in January to gamble.
Oh,
well, what about Reno? Are you going to go to Reno too?
I don't go to Reno often. When I do, I go alone.
Tell her why she needs to go to Reno, Dave.
Our SOR fan party is moving to Reno.
Oh, that's fine. It's closer for me. I can just drive up there.
Yeah. May 10th through 12th. Put it on your calendar.
I will. Get it on there right now.
Melinda's coming, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Lorian, you should. Oh, sorry. Very quickly, you should have asked Melinda how she did last time I was sitting next to her in Vegas. In a text.
Were you gambling with her?
Yeah.
I was sitting next to her while she blew my mind gambling.
Oh, with Baccarat?
Yes, you know.
Yeah, I'm her partner in that. We do it together.
Then
okay, guys.
Know. Okay,
guys. Thank you. Big thank you to Louie, Cat Chaser, Pam H, and Greg in Thailand for the super chats. Reminder to all of you that Our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And yeah, join the Space Travelers Club on Patreon as well. The link is in below. Here we go, everybody. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We are talking about threat or no threat in the SOR Roundtable tonight, as we are joined by Rob G. and Nicole Weber from SOR's After Hours on our YouTube channel, researcher Lorian Fenton, also insider Terry Hall, and from our UFO report, little Timmy Senor. And Lorian, you were just about to go off here on the whole threat versus no threat, because let's face it, the way I've looked about it, and Tim has kind of come in on this as well, now that his eyes have opened, okay, is the fact that we are seeing a real disclosure for dollars from all of these people who are wanting a threat narrative. And I know you'd like to react to that, Lorian. Your mic is muted, my dear.
Yeah. Okay. I got muted. Thank you. So, this whole thing, it's not any different than it was 50 years ago. The only trouble is now that we've got, what I call it, like civilians in on it. Back then it was Department of Defense, aerospace, everybody else was cashing in on anything they could get to be the person in charge of the narrative, right? And now we've got all these people coming forward and they're saying it's a threat. We got to do this. We got to do that. And they're making money off of it, just like you're talking about. I mean, this whole thing is just, the government and everybody in the government and every scientist knows there will never be a collision. So there is no threat there. They also know that the only time that they've ever disabled one of our ships is when we've shot at them first. They know that. So I don't know what game they're playing, but everybody that is a contactee knows full well that this is all BS about it being a threat. And now they may be eating us. That's another whole story altogether. We don't know. But the flying around part and being in our skies, they've never hit us. Okay. So it's not going to happen. And these people that are out there on the circuit now playing this whole game of they're a threat, they shouldn't be in our skies, blah, blah, blah. We got many more problems going on in this world, especially with China, Israel, Ukraine, Russia. I mean, what? Why are they even going down that road? Sorry. Makes me very angry.
No, I get that, and I can appreciate that. Let's go to you, Rob G. You say you got a counterpoint.
Actually, I have a couple. And I'm going to start with the one that you don't like, and then I'm going to finish with one that should hit pretty hard for you. So we have your best friend Tom DeLonge, who had gone on the Steve-O podcast and told a story that he was privy to about an event that happened, I believe it was in Italy, and there were these homes on the hillside that were spontaneously catching fire. Turned out that there were some high energy weapons being used, and they were actually being shot from USOs. So I guess they had pretty much figured out what was going on, and they had taken a helicopter out to see what was going on. They flew out into the ocean, and the report was that a USO hopped up out of the water, shot the helicopter, and then went back down into the water. Now, this is a story that Tom DeLonge tells. You know, I know how you feel about Tom DeLonge and the stories that he tells. However, I don't know if we can say if it's credible or not, but it is a story that is told within ufology of an incident where unprovoked, these things fired upon us. And I do have another. So this one is in UFO history. So if you remember, there was a guy by the name of Frederick Valentic in October 21st, 1978. He was in a Cessna, just a regular plane, unarmed. Radioed Melbourne Flight Service at 7:06 to report that an unidentified aircraft was following him at 4,500 feet. He was told there was no known traffic at that level. Valentic said he could see a large unknown aircraft, which appeared to be illuminated by 4 bright landing lights. He was unable to confirm its type, but said it had passed at about 1,000 feet overhead and was moving at a high speed. Valentic then reported that the aircraft was approaching him from the east and said the other pilot might be purposely toying with him. Valentic said the aircraft was orbiting above him and that it had a shiny metal surface and a green light on it. Valentic further reported that he was experiencing engine problems. Asked to identify the aircraft, Valentic radioed, quote, "It's not an aircraft." His transmission was then interrupted by unidentified noise described as metallic scraping sounds before all contact was lost. So, and that's in our UFO history. That happened, and he was not armed. He did not fire up on these things first. He's no longer here with us. And this was at the hands of a UFO or UAP. So how can we sit here and say that there isn't the other side of this, which there obviously is, and there's other stories, but these are ones.
I've got to say something real quick here. I absolutely believe in my gut, since I've been involved with this military cover-up of what they're up to, whether you want to call it a secret space program, whatever you want to call it, folks, I wouldn't doubt that it was them. Okay? That's just my gut feeling. Because having talked to ET as much as I have in the past, I know full well that they would never knowingly chase our ships unless they're not telling me that there's like a reptilian species out there that hates us and is going to blow us out of the air all the time. But then why isn't it happening all the time? So my personal opinion about that particular incident is that it was probably, what year was that again? Was it 78?
It was 78, but he radioed that this wasn't any sort of known craft. He said,
well, exactly. What if you saw a TR-3B in 2002 and you didn't know what it was? You'd think it was a UFO, right?
But see, I think I think if we're going to see, if we look at it as it stands, then there's enough facts there to say that it was something that this gentleman didn't recognize. Now, we could jump down a rabbit hole and say that it would be all these other things, but then, where's the truth in that? Because I don't know if there's enough that evidence that we can provide just speculating to say that that isn't what happened. And so and here's the thing with that is that then if we allow that conversation to happen, then we go along with the narrative that there aren't incidents where these things are actually harming us. And I think that's a false sense of security if in fact they are doing this.
And I agree with you on that. And yes, if it is them doing it, they have done it several times in the last 70 years that we know of, and probably the military knows of maybe even more incidents. But I just I just feel like it's a very low probability that it was a malevolent, a malevolent species doing it, or if it happened, then there was some agenda to it, and that points me towards a military presence. Because
let me add this
go ahead,
too.
Dave.
And Rob, I think you're bringing up good points. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule for absolutely everything. Okay, and what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about here, is we also have to learn to define what is a UAP and what is a UFO. They are two completely different objects, even though they can be synonymized under the same term of UAP. Now, a UFO, okay, for instance, I take that as something that is not from here. A UAP is definitely a man-made object, which everybody has heard me say hundreds of times over the last number of months, and I'm kind of sick of saying it, to be blunt. Okay, but what I'm getting at is with the examples that they have given us, talking about these UAPs, where they're being spotted near military bases or near nuclear facilities. To me, that tends to make me believe that we are dealing with objects that are man-made, that are spying on American or other allied interests, because it's happening here in Canada as well. So
Right.
a UFO, though, is something we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And Dave, just very
Go ahead.
briefly, I was just going to say that the aspect that Dave is talking about is the aspect of UAP I feel like they are highlighting as being the threat, right? The part that does come in close contact with our pilots, well, that's probably a balloon or something mundane. And it, they're able to get clear footage of it because it's right there. A UFO, they're not going to get clear footage of it. They're not going to actually down it, right? We know that. And so the things that they're bringing down, the things they're coming in contact with, the things that they're calling threats, those are potentially real threats. And those are still UAP. Some of them are even, plasma lightning that can pass right through an airplane. That's potentially a threat. So these are the things that they're talking about. And along with that, there should be pilot retraining so that they cannot be misidentifying Starlink, explain how these things can kind of mirage on the horizon during different weather patterns. There's a lot to it. So there needs to be retraining for pilots on what UAP is, because that's real, something we can actually train them on. But then there's UFO, and that's a whole nother conversation. And that gets really confusing and hard to explain because we don't have very much data on UFO yet, right? I mean, realistically, that we can point to and say, this is definitely not a threat. This definitely is, in my opinion.
Well, and what we have to realize also is that the military has had UFOs in their, hangars and what have you from crashes, according to Clifford Stone and everybody else that's been involved in this. And they took down those crafts. I am absolutely sure of it. I've talked to people that I can't tell you guys anything about because they couldn't tell me the whole story. They're under non-disclosures, but bottom line is they could tell me this. They said, if you've heard the rumor that the Roswell incident was a crash due to radar at our end, you are on the right path. That's all they could tell me. But so there are things we're developing that are actually capable of shooting down UFOs. And I think that is one of the reasons we're not seeing them as prevalent as we did in the 50s and 60s. Just flying around and doing things is because they know that we are capable now of having some kind of weapon, whether it's a dew weapon, laser weapon, I'm not sure what it is, but it's definitely Star Wars. Okay. And we have all seen that footage of the beam coming off the Earth's planet, shooting that craft off, was it ISS footage, I think, where they showed the beam coming from Earth and the UFO doing a 90-degree angle and zipping off into the universe. That was quite phenomenal. That showed me right away that we've got the ability to take them out. Okay. Right. So again, I'm going to go back to saying, I think Dave's right, and I think I'm correlating the same type of information. I call it the secret space program, UAPs, and Dave says they're all man-made, and I think that those are the people causing the problems up in our atmosphere right
Okay, now the only thing I have to say about that is that it's a disservice to deliver it as a fact when it could go either way.
now. Well,
And
hey,
and
it's my
but
opinion.
no, and here's the other part. But here's the thing: we have viewers out there, and I think to lead the viewers one way or another isn't the right thing to do, because we should definitely leave it up to the decision of each person as an individual. So, but and you definitely have the right to feel one way about it. But if in this field, we always talk about the experiencer's story, and listening to the experiencer and taking what they say at face value. And in this instance, the gentleman was an experiencer, and what he reported was that it was not anything that was man made, and that it was something that he could not describe. So to go past what he said, these are in his own words, and try to write it off and explain it as something else, I think is doing a disservice to the sighting. And these are things that we should be holding dearly within ufology. This is our history of things that have happened, and to write it off as something as mundane, I don't think is doing a great service to this gentleman who's no longer here, has lost his life
Yeah.
behind this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, time out for just a second. This is the perfect example. I'd love to play telephone tag with you guys. Dave's original question was, why is the UFO threat narrative disappearing? Okay, we just in a short amount of time, we've gone so far away from that subject that listening, Rob, to people describe things sometimes can be misconstrued, and that's what happens. But going back to the threat narrative about this, it's so easy to pick out this case or that case or that case or that case. The UFO report that just came out was only over a span of a year. There was over 100 sightings in that year. A lot of those were chalked up to misidentification, misreading of sensors, uh, poor descriptions, poor views. Only a very small percentage of those did anything anomalous that we don't understand. But getting back to the threat narrative and why it's disappearing, at least my opinion, and it is this. We go back to the beginning of this with Tom DeLonge and the TTSA. Well, his job and Elizondo's job was to make Uncle Sam look good, which what they had to do in that instance, instead of coming straight out and saying, we've been fibbing to you guys all this time, is they made Uncle Sam look good like they were protecting us. That was their job. And to get this in the vernacular in Washington, which has been accomplished in spades right now because we have all these departments. We have things that at least on the surface of it, like it looks like it's moving forward. So now that the money doors, the coffers have been opened, right? They don't have to press the threat narrative as much as they did prior to that in order to keep the financing going. The coffers are open. The threat narrative has done its job. If they continue to push the threat narrative, they also continue to push the possibility of something going wrong, like panic, misunderstanding, which leads to people getting injured. Things could happen just like what happened with Orson Welles and his story that they told way back when on the radio, when the whole nation, if you came in the middle of that, in the middle of that story, keep in mind that that's where all of your news came from back then. There wasn't any no screens to see, so you walk in your house, you turn that story on, and you think you're listening to a live broadcast of aliens that have landed in New York. I had family myself that my uncle actually drove to my father's house to get the family together because they thought that aliens had actually landed, right? So they keep pushing this threat narrative, and one small thing could set the whole thing off. So now that the coffers are open, they've done their job. Let's back off the threat narrative a little bit. We can keep it behind closed doors like we always have, but the money's going to continue to roll in because UAP and UFO are now in the vernacular on Capitol Hill.
Very well said. Let's get Nicole's point here, as we got about 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Your microphone's on mute, Nicole.
Get off.
All right, we got to go.
I couldn't get it off. So anyway, I don't think it's the threat narrative. I believe the threat's on the ground, and I believe that there are humanoid extraterrestrials living among us, and they're the ones that are in control, and we're adapting. But I do believe that what's coming, that they are there for support. You can feel them. It's an experience, and if you haven't experienced it, you don't understand it's unbelievable. The first one I encountered, it was 50 feet measured by MUFON, and I stood 30 feet away, and it was like just right there. I was up on a hill, so stuff like that. It could have zapped me. I do know two people, Eric Mitchell in personal conversation and Christos Rapallo, who said that they got zapped by something. Now, I don't know. Is that our government, or is that, I don't think, I honestly have never felt in any of my experiences that I was in like danger. I didn't feel that. So, and I think to disqualify with experiencers, I think experiencers are going to get you to the answers. We're slowly picking up and connecting and putting the dots together. And that's what we need to be doing. This is not an individual, like, this is a movement. This takes a collaborative, like, oh, this and that. Like, we need to start off like, hey, we believe this. There's no next step. I called MUFON. I'm like, okay, so now I've been, aboard the craft. What do we do now? What's next? So I don't believe they're a threat at all. I don't think that we could even knock them like out. They move and maneuver out. I mean, we don't have anything that, and I think once you're at a higher frequency, that's not why they're there. I think that they're there to help us. I mean, we're coming to a point here. I don't know. You can look around the world and you can see that something crazy is going on. And I really think that's their agenda. They're making it a more inclusive environment for them. But who knows? I've done research on it, and like, so you call them UFOs, we call them ETVs, like ET vehicles. We don't believe that the government is actually putting the good stuff under UAP or UFO. Not at all. That's the line of beat. That's crap. It really is.
I think the most important part of that you said was who knows, and that's kind of where we have to take it. Let's roll with the evidence and figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, and what criteria are you using for threat?
I want to end by this a half hour by saying, Rob, I don't think you're wrong. Okay, there have been incidents over the years where there have been situations caused by UFOs. We do know this, but the government action towards this and their UAP narrative is what is driving this for many of us. And that is where we don't know what the truth is. We don't know what a UAP is. They do, because they coined the term. And that's where we're kind of going with. When we come back on the SOR Roundtable with Rob G., Nicole Weber, Lori Fenton, Terry Hall, and Tim Senor, we're going to continue about David Grush. More skiffs, more evidence, more popularity on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, gorgeous Larry chat room. How are you?
The little green mints don't have to be bad little green mints. They can be nice little green mints. They don't have
So
to
you
be the
got
bad little
5
green
minutes?
mints.
We have 5 minutes.
One thing before we go. One thing, guys, when we're
I'll get a
talking
vape
here, let me get to you guys, okay? Because the
Mhm.
radio audience, the podcast audience, isn't going to know who's talking unless I throw the
Right.
name. So we'll get to that. I'll be right back, guys.
Me too. I'll beat you back, Dave.
So I got a question. Maybe Rob knows the answer. Rob, why did Dave tell me do not touch the chat?
Oh no, yeah, because if someone on this end goes through the comment right, like on the right hand of your screen, then the whatever you put in there when it goes in the chat, it's almost like he's the one that's chatting that. So it'll show up in the chat. Yeah, yeah. So
I
that's
get
what
it.
he was saying.
I,
Yeah.
I thought that was there for us to talk to him.
The one private chat is, but the live chat, the main chat where everyone all the names are at
Oh
the
no,
bottom.
I texted him in Yardstream in the private chat, and he
Yeah.
said, "Please do not touch the chat." I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think. Oh, okay. So someone must have done the other thing. Yeah, it wasn't you. That wasn't you.
Oh,
Yeah,
so we're
somebody
all
else.
seeing this.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
else
that
was.
wasn't you. Someone else.
Oh, see, when it said private, I thought it was just me and David.
No, it's all of us. Yeah, all
It's
of us
all
on
of
the
us.
backstage. Yeah.
Okay. Now I get it. Thank you, Rob.
She's like, "What did I do?" Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
that
going,
wasn't
what
you
did
at
I
all.
do, Dave?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
someone
that's
else.
great.
You were a bad girl. Very, very bad.
Of course, I try my best.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Rob, I think you're right on. I think we've got to always acknowledge the fact that we have been attacked by these guys, but 99.99% of everybody I've ever talked to, and I've interviewed probably 4,000 to 5,000 people in 50 years, and 99.9% have been hurt by our government guys more than they've ever been hurt by any ETs.
Yeah, if I had to give my feeling on it, then with from what I hear, there's so many of these different species out there, and I think the general consensus is that most of these things are here as friendlies and to help, and I do believe that. But then there's at least one or two of these species out here that may not have the best intentions, and
And
it's
I
just like,
totally agree with you.
yeah, I'd hate to be in a situation where the whole time we've all thought that these things were friendly, and then the ones that weren't were the ones that interacted with us on disclosure day or whatever day that may be, and then we're just unprepared. That's what
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. So yeah, very, it's a scary world out there. And I thank God every day that I get to deal with aliens that are the white light beings and the ascended master kind. And, the really beautiful women that I see, I don't ever get the grays or anything like that. Melinda always laughs at me. I know she's listening right now. Because of the fact that she gets the little ugly little gray guys and I get the beautiful hunky, aliens. So that's fun. I'm going to try to send her a Fabio looking Palladian one night. That'll be kind of fun for her.
Send her the aliens.
Send in the alien, the hunky looking, good looking one.
I know how to summons them with tactical lights. I learned from Christos for Paulo.
Oh, cool.
And I can tell you within a 2-week time.
Well, send it off to Melinda because I'm sure she'd love to have the hunky Palladian dude.
Well, that's summoning just the crafts. You'll just see like the crafts come.
Oh, okay. Darn! I thought I was setting her up on a date.
No, you know what though? When I asked for the tour, after I've seen hundreds of them, and after I asked for the tour, that's when it happened. I'm like, you dummy! Like you asked for this. Like, but I just think that we hold like these pieces to a puzzle, and the government's doing nothing but kind of creating doubt or doing whatever. I really think if you start connecting with experiencers, hey, and start asking, because we know, like, did they give you a mission? Did they tell you why you were here? I
They
always really
always do.
consciously they do. They do.
Always.
So we
Yeah.
should, so we should be talking about that too. Like, okay, what did they, I can tell you what they told me, it's like, we need to connect it.
Hey,
Definitely.
Tim, real quick.
Yeah, buddy.
Yesterday we were having our phone conversation,
Dude.
and I got that nosebleed. Did I call you back yesterday evening?
You did, but I didn't pick up.
Okay.
I'd already gone to like put my kids down.
No, dude, the reason I ask is after we hung up, I don't remember coming back in the house. What I remember after that is standing in front
Dude,
of my washing
you gotta
machine.
give him the lead up. You gotta give him the
Well, we
lead
don't
up.
have time, guys. We got 20
No,
seconds.
no.
Too
Big
bad.
thank you to Stacy, Louis times 2, Cat Chaser, Pam H, and Greg for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. And don't forget, you can join our Space Travelers Club for as low as $5 a month on Patreon. The link is in below on the YouTube side. Here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of the roundtable tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Macarism. Macarism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bubblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon by joining the Space Travelers Club. All right, we got a great panel coming up tonight on the round table that happens at the end of each month. Lorian Fenton, researcher and experiencer. Terry Hall, UFO insider from our UFO report. We have Tim Senor, Nicole Weber, and Rob G from After Hours on Spaced Out Radio weekends. We appreciate everybody being here. We're going to get into a month of David Grush. We saw another interview with him come out with Jesse Michaels and others who are getting into who is this David Grush guy, as we found out more about the gentleman he's surrounding himself with as well, who happened to be tied to billionaire Peter Thiel, formerly of PayPal, former or current government contractor for military defense computers, and the money man behind Enigma Labs, which is interesting. David Grush, whether you love him or hate him, whether you think he's telling the truth or not, has been idolized by many people in the UFO world for the information that he has regarding this. And Terry, I want to start with you on this regarding David Grush. We know there's more. We know there's more people out there who are talking. We have not heard of their names. We have not heard of who they are, what their positions are, or anything like that. What do you think is happening with David Grush? Are we overextending him? Is he telling us enough information?
Well, with David to begin with, I'm like you, David. I'm wondering if they're not overextending him. To begin with, from his original coming out with Ross Coulthart, he knew at least Ross Colehart knew. Otherwise, Ross probably wouldn't have broke the story like he did as quickly as he did, that it was going to be a big media splash and a sensation, which it was to a certain extent, but it really didn't get the traction that it should have considering what he said, right? Um, but here recently in that last interview, he was actually defending what he said, and in accordance with what we've all heard, at least from the classified section of that report, we have heard and it has been made public that there was another 30 witnesses that have come forward, or whistleblowers, if you want to coin the term whistleblowers, that have come forward to confirm David Grush's stories. So, have we overextended him? Extended it, or has he been overextended? He seems to be faring up fairly well. He's staying consistent, calm and cool. And once again, we all know that he has a handler behind the scenes. Before he opens his mouth, he gets it okay. But I do believe that in order for his story to remain relevant and to get more credibility behind it, they're going to have to at least unclassify some of the other whistleblowers' testimonies, and let's see where the parallels lie in that.
I would agree with you on that. And I think the guy is coming out, and I like him. I think we need him. I think he's telling the truth. Rob G, let's get to you on this because, I mean, David Grush is being well controlled right now. I mean, he's being very careful with whom he speaks with. It is now heard that in order to interview David, you need at least $3,000 to interview him, and that would be for an hour. I don't agree with that, but that's what his handlers are doing to kind of, I'm going to use the term, keep the riffraff away. Okay, they probably don't want what happened or happening to him. What happened with Lou Elizondo and others who went on everybody and their dogs podcast. Your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, I mean it's that's a hard one for me because I would say it's almost it's trying to get as much juice out of the orange as you can. You squeeze it as hard as you can until no more juice comes out. And I think maybe with Grush immediately. So one thing that was different between Grush and Lou Elizondo is Grush came out with his statements, did this interview, and then within months was under oath in front of Congress. Elizondo hasn't done that yet, as far as I know. So with that being said, I think maybe on the Grush side of things, we have everything we're ever going to get from him on record. I don't know, with the Dopser thing, unless they were to approve extra information for him to provide, then I don't know what else we can get from him. So as far as new information goes, I don't know that there's going to be much there that we'll benefit from, though he needs to stay a staple in the conversation right now because he has that in the information that he did provide. You can validate it with him at any given time. So, so I think we sit him on a shelf and then we move on to whoever's going to be the next whistleblower. We can always go back to him if we need to validate certain things. But in order for the conversation now to move forward, we need that next person to come out and identify themselves. So hopefully that happens.
I hope it does too. And Nicole, let's get your opinion. David Grush, do you feel he is someone who has more to say? Do you feel he is someone who is deserving of the attention that he is getting right now? Is he the hero that we need?
I'm muted, I think. And unmute. Let me unmute. And
No, you're not muted. No, we can hear you.
I'm not muted.
No.
Okay,
Because
sounding too much like a podcast, guys. I've now had to kill the radio side of this. We're getting way too podcasty here. So let me just turn off this. Hold on. Okay. All right, now we can podcast, guys.
Go ahead, Nicole.
She's been talking for about 30 seconds.
Now she's muted herself. Unmute. We can't hear you.
hello. Okay, now it went off. It would not go off before. Like anything I did, it said like unmute like on it. So I apologize. My thoughts on David Grush are that okay, I'm just gonna like throw this out here. Is he an experiencer? Has he experienced the crafts? Have he experienced like the beans? Like until he is able to like wrap his mind around this, because he's taking it down to a different place, and we all know, like as experiencers, we all know that this is a bunch of bull crap. Like why do we need this? Why do we need hat? But they are like, I'm trying to think of the guy in Connecticut that had close encounters, and then they sent like the FBI in, and then his computer got raided, and then they studied like, you know, child porn on it or something. It seemed they do attack you. I mean, if you are like going out there and saying things that they don't like you to say, there are repercussions for it. But if
You're
there's
talking
enough
about
of us,
Stan Romanek, correct?
yes, yep,
Yeah.
and I knew the Mufan Fred that we've had on. He actually worked on the case with him, and it was like some of the stuff that came out that's not what they portrayed to the public. But I firmly believe, like I seriously firmly believe that they are here to help us, because we right now, I mean, if you look around, I mean, things aren't going so well. So that's how I feel. And David Grush, and then there's supposed to be 50 other whistleblowers. Where are they? Like I know there was 2 allegedly on a podcast. I didn't even listen to it, but I mean, there's 50 whistleblowers and then like nothing, you know? I mean, where's the response? It makes no sense at all, in my opinion.
Right. Well, we also know we're about to hopefully get some information from him when he goes into a skiff, potentially with some members of Congress. And so we might get something from that. I don't know publicly if that's going to weed out or not, though.
There's always nuggets of truth. They always give you nuggets of truth. So, you know what I mean? I always listen, I always watch, and then I'm like, okay, they drop nuggets of truth. Otherwise, they couldn't even keep this going, you know, unless there was that element of truth in there. But exactly, I don't know what they're going to do. And my only opinion is like Brush coming out, and then there's psychiatric stuff, and then now the general public has stopped listening. We might still listen because we kind of understand that this has been done to people before, but the general public, it's like we don't want to lose them because they're just starting to, you know, gain interest in this topic. But yeah, I don't know about David Grush. I'm keeping him on the back burner too, unless he does move mountains. But I think even talking to Stephen what's his name, Bassett, he said like no, this isn't the time. So he's already called quits on it. I don't know. I actually like it day by day, it just gets stranger and stranger. It really does. I don't know. That I guess that's it. We have to wait and see. I like the guy, and he keeps screaming like truth, truth, truth. So I'm like, that's great. You know, I like that. But the other parts of it, I don't know. And who knows if they're not fabricated.
All right, Tim, your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm actually hopeful that, you know, the things that the whistleblowers bring forward, the information isn't just falling on dead ears. or deaf ears, I guess, because they're bringing forward information, but it seems like there's no follow-up. At least publicly, we're not hearing about it. Now, we've heard recently that potentially there is a committee that's advising Sean Kirkpatrick, that, a secret quote unquote committee, that includes gatekeepers to the legacy programs, and if these are the people that are advising Dr. Kirkpatrick on what to do and where to go, then who knows who's really pulling those strings. And so even though these whistleblowers keep pointing publicly in the right direction, behind the closed doors, it seems like filtering out that information is what we're seeing mostly, because there's been more than one whistleblower that's attempted, to come forward to Arrow already, and publicly they've been saying that they've been fairly disappointed. And amongst most of the witnesses that have tried to contact Arrow directly, they've been disappointed. And they've saying that it's hard to go forward when they believe that their representations to Arrow are not being fairly investigated. And they're saying it's unfairly downplayed and ignored, in a quote. So it must be frustrating for people like these whistleblowers coming forward. And it's, specifically retired USAF Captain Schindel came forward and, had to reveal his whole case over a public phone line directly to Arrow. And that's how they took his whole case. So potentially frustrating moving forward, but we do need more of it, but we need to remove the filters somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Lorian, how about you?
Well, I have this weird love-hate relationship with the whole Senate thing, because what bothers me about Grush is that he has only secondhand information from what I can tell. Anybody tell me any different on this panel? Because I looked into him, and he is not a Clifford Stone. He's not the guy that was at the crash sites. He's the guy who heard from the people that were at the crash sites, apparently, that it had happened. So he's a secondhand person. He's not a firsthand person. And I don't understand why the government's paying any attention to that. Why is secondhand information even being addressed? Why aren't they going for the guy that is the Clifford Stone right now and find him that's working for the government, who does go to crash retrievals, who does deal with the ETs, who has seen a dead body? Why aren't they going to those guys and saying, and there are plenty of them that have tried to get to them and whistleblow, but they won't even listen to them, like you were just saying, Tim, or they do listen to them and then just don't react. So why a secondhand person information? I keep asking myself that question. It's bothering me greatly. And it should be bothering everybody else too, but apparently everybody's drank the Kool-Aid with this Grush guy.
I agree.
Yeah, so something's wrong.
Well, I mean, I think it has to go with the point, Lorian, that it's the information that he can provide and drop the names behind the scenes. That's what I don't like about it, is that he's dropping names behind the scenes, and we're none the wiser and all the more dumber for paying attention to it. Now, from what I have learned about David,
let me ask you something real quickly about that. What you're saying is the reason they're paying attention to him is because he has the names. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I can buy that.
Even though his
but all 50 names are out already. 50
whistleblowers.
Here,
guys. Okay. Go ahead, Nicole.
Also, I was just saying that first of all, like as she was saying, if she heard that in court, it's not going to hold up. It's hearsay. You know what I mean? Unless you directly say, I had communication, such and such. That's not even, who knows what game they're playing with them. But just to know that he's not ever seen or experienced anything firsthand, he doesn't have, I don't even think we have the terminology for it. And that's why everybody's like, how do you explain this? Like, I really think that they need to start putting words in there. And the experiencers are the only ones that truly know what it is like. You know what I mean? And the spectators are like the people watching in, I think is awesome. But you also have to understand that experiencers they think different. There's a different connection between us. Like it's just, it's very hard to explain. But I know one of my own kind. Like I can feel it, like that vibration, so I know like what's what. But yeah, it's very interesting. I don't think he's going anywhere though. I really don't. It would have been done by now.
So the point that I'm getting at with this, Lorian, is he has the names, he has the stories, he has the direction to point the government into those directions. Those who want to be a part of it, those who are trying to learn the story. Yes, his stories are anecdotal. Yes, it's secondhand information, but it's still incredible leads for anybody who wants to move forward with this story on a serious basis. And I think that's where the debate with him is leading. I understand people in this community want proof. I don't know what proof is anymore because we're not accepting videos. We're not accepting eyewitness testimony. We're not accepting photographs anymore. What is proof? What is proof? So we have this gentleman from my insiders who have ran background checks on him. He's the real deal from what I'm hearing, and that's why I will support the information that I have been given. Okay, but what I don't like is when I see them holding him up on a pedestal, whether it's Anna Luna, whether it's Tim Burchett, whether it's any of these people holding him up on a pedestal, and they're not giving us the information when they were talking about transparency right off the bat. That's where I get it. I don't blame David Grush. Okay.
Yeah.
We already know the government's trying to screw him by leaking his health records to a reporter who doesn't like the UFO story, who thinks we're a bunch of class clowns. We already know that. So that's my opinion on it. We got 2 minutes. Lorian?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think you're absolutely right, Dave. If like I said, if he's going behind closed doors and telling them these people's names, my problem with it only is this. He's going to tell them a bunch of names of people that had the firsthand experience, correct? If I got this right, everybody? I'm just trying to figure this all out because it's so convoluted. Every time I look up what he's actually doing, I can't get any real information. I get a bunch of, Yahoo stuff, and I can't tell. But I think that's what he's doing. He's going into a skiff, and he's going to tell them the names of the people or the generals or the admirals or the colonels or whoever that he heard the real firsthand information from. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Okay. So having said that, what difference is it going to make if he tells them all these people's names? Because those people aren't going to come forward. They're obviously they don't want to be talked about, right?
Maybe not publicly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're thinking possibly they might go behind us into a skiff with him.
Subpoena.
I think maybe part of those 50 whistleblowers might be some of the people that he had been referring to. We don't know yet, but I think maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally confused about what he's actually trying to do. I would love to
hear somebody's answer, like yes or no. Would you, if the government, like all the stuff in the government, would you as an experiencer go along with that or go to the government and give them? I would not. Not in a million years. Tim, how about you?
We're going to go to a break here.
I would, but
we're going to go to a break here, guys. So just stay tuned. And there will be more of the roundtable when we return. Either the way, my schedule over my audio still pops up, even though we're not on the radio side right now. All right, we can continue now. Go ahead. Or if you guys
So,
want
Dave,
to...
what happened to the radio?
I had to cut it off. We were podcasting too much.
Oh, you mean we were interacting with each other without our names being talked about, right?
No, it was just not quality. So can't put that on the radio.
Okay. Are you going to get in trouble for that?
No, I'll send them a previous show.
Oh, okay. That's great. Okay, good.
Can you tell us so we don't do it again? I'm being 100% serious. Dave, can you tell us so you don't do
How
it
about
again?
we have a conversation after the show?
Okay. I always forget that. Hey, chat. I do that every time because the other one, it was like we'd cut it, so I love it. Now people are like, that's
so, Brian,
great.
when are you looking at putting together UFO Con?
Either the end of February or second or third week or whatever, end of March. It's one or the other. And if the city of South San Francisco gets involved, we'll be at the convention center.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Is it I would prefer the end of March. That works better for me driving. Just saying.
Oh, are you driving down this time?
No, but to get to the airport, it helps.
Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, because you do have to drive quite a ways to get to Vancouver. I get it. Okay. I would prefer the end of March as well. And I'll talk to you about it after the show, is why it may be in February. We'll see.
Okay, well, whatever you need, I will make it there.
Yay!
Whatever you need from me.
Of course, you're my MC for stuff.
Do I get to speak this year or no?
Probably. Well, if we get into the convention center, yes. If we don't, if we end up at a hotel, no. Okay, because one's a lot bigger than the other one. Yeah.
I will do whatever you need me to do.
Okay. I'd love to have you speak. I'd love to be big enough to have you speak this year.
I want to help you bring in some new names because there's a lot of great people that I've met since last year that would be wonderful.
Okay, that's great. Well, we'll talk about it later. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tim, what happened to Terry?
I think he had signal or something. I know he was getting frustrated with his camera.
He had a signal issue.
Yeah. He's funny.
Are you guys lagging at all? I was earlier. It started to lag, but then it kind of snapped back too.
Not on my end. I don't know. Yeah.
So now let me get this straight. Tim, you're living in the house where the McMinnville sighting was?
No, that's Terry.
That's Terry that lives in that house. Okay. But you know where Salem is, Tim.
Yeah, I'm right by Terry. He and I work together once in a while.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm like, wait, I'm totally confused here.
Yeah, we're buddies. In fact, I have cameras at that location streaming 24/7 up in the skies, hoping to capture another UFO there. And we haven't yet. Nothing to report.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're looking.
Cool.
Well, I can help you with that. We'll talk later.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll be up in Portland in a few weeks. I'll definitely be there for Christmas. So let's get together.
Sounds beautiful. I would love that.
Yeah.
Nobody's
my parents still own property up in near Tigard.
Beautiful there.
Yeah.
Anyone close to Iowa? I'll answer for you.
Iowa. Where's Iowa?
Yeah. Oh man. I got out of here for a while, but I came back. I have to say that I have a new appreciation for it, but not these winters. Nope. It's freezing. It's got to be cold where you are there too, huh?
Yeah, Dave lives in the middle of, I don't know how he even survives his winters. It's like, it's truly the middle of nowhere.
It's beautiful. Dave, don't let him trick you. He lives in a gorgeous part of the world.
It's absolutely
yeah.
beautiful, but it's cold.
Yeah, but it's worth
Lorian
it.
was here in 2018, and
Oh,
literally the day after she was supposed to leave, we had a blizzard.
Oh, you're so lucky.
That was in September.
Yeah,
I
it was
wouldn't want to
wild.
be.
Actually, it started snowing when we were leaving. Remember, Dave, and his windshield wipers broke,
Yes.
and we had to come back.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, guys, 10 seconds here.
All right.
Right on, Decipher.
All right, let's kick things off here. What topic should we choose for the next one? Timmy, I'm going to give you a selection on this one.
Oh, can I bring up David?
Oh, yes. First and foremost, let's get to David Adair, Lorian.
Are we live?
We're live.
We're live. Yay. Well, I just wanted to I forgot at the beginning of the show that I just got off the phone with David Adair before we got on the show this evening. And I think many of you were wondering how his health is. And if you didn't know, he had a heart, he had 4 stents put in about a week ago, and he's finally home and he's doing very well. We were very worried about him. We thought he might have died on us, at this point, but no, he's doing really well. And we had a long chat tonight, and he's in great spirits, and he's very happy, and he survived it. And so I just want everybody to know he's well, and he sends his love to everyone, and thanks you all. He's had over 3,000 emails in a week. People wishing him well and doing good. And I guess his Facebook exploded, and he just, he hasn't had time to get on anything, but he just wanted me to tell everybody, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for the love. And he's doing great. And there's some surprise things coming from Dave in the very near future. I can't talk to you guys about it, but you're going to be shocked when you see it. That's all I got to say is you're going to be shocked when you see it. And I'll tell Dave Scott about it so he can bring Dave on the show to announce what he's doing. It'll blow you guys away. It's too funny. Okay?
Dave,
So there's Dave. Oh, and
Dave
one
Scott?
other thing. I don't know how many people out here know about Sean David Morton, but he almost died about a month ago, and he came back from a deep coma, and they thought he was going to die, and he actually came back. So he's doing well. He's in a rehab center. He does have stage 4 cancer, but they're working on it. So there's another miraculous survival. And I know it's all due to everybody's prayers all over the world for these folks. That's
John
keeping
Yost
them
as
with
well.
us.
John
Yeah.
Yost as well.
Oh, John. Yeah. He's doing much better too. So that's wonderful. Yeah. We've had a lot of people this year need our help. And you know what? They're still here and they're still fighting. So it's good.
All right. Thank you for bringing that up. And let's go to you, Timmy. You choose the next topic, man.
Oh, you know me. I've been dying to talk about it. The 7-foot tall face peeling aliens that are hitting the headlines again and again. And so allegedly, they've been terrorizing villagers in remote Peruvian jungles since last month and are most likely illegal gold miners using jetpacks, according to authorities. However, last week, reporting stunning claims are coming from terrified locals who are saying that they're being attacked by 7-foot tall flying armored aliens. And a lot of these reports say that they looked like the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. And so the claims were made by members of the Iquitu indigenous people in the remote rural district of Alto Nane, northeast of Lima. So locals are describing these extraterrestrials as having large heads and yellowish eyes, claiming that they've been attacked every night since July 11th. And some of the villagers are also describing the aliens as being like Los Pelecras, the face peelers, strange beings from Peruvian folklore that feast on human fat and organs. And so many reports coming of young people being grabbed from behind and being taken and dragged away. And community members are saying that they can't sleep because they're in fear. Now, we know that just last Monday of this week, Timothy Alberino has actually gone on an adventure to this Peruvian area on an alien expedition to go and see if he can go and get documented firsthand evidence while also resupplying and sending some needed support to the local natives. So a lot of activity and perhaps some facts coming back out of the Peruvian jungles. I'd love to get everybody's take.
Rob, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, the old face peeling aliens. Yeah. You know, the way I feel about that is that there's been a lot of things that have been reported for years going down there in the Amazon. So, you know, here's what I will say. I can be open to that. I can be open to that being something that may be taking place. The thing that doesn't pass the sniff test is the miners, legal miners on jetpacks. You know, that part seems less likely than there being these aliens peeling faces in the jungles out there. So I think if we take that part of it and remove it from the conversation, then I think it's plausible. We know for sure that these things come here in ships. We know they do, and we know that they've landed in a lot of cases from reports. Like I said before, Ariel School, Westall School. We know they get out of these crafts and heavily wooded or vegetative area like the Amazon would be somewhere maybe they would consider landing if they were looking for a spot to land, possibly. And so I think that this is plausible. I'm not going to lean either way too hard, but I would say that it's definitely something we probably should just keep an eye on and maybe look further into.
Rob's 50-50.
You hit the nail on the head there with something, Rob, because these craft can land anywhere. Their craft can land anywhere. They can fit in anything. I mean, remember what we hear about a lot of these spacecraft, guys, where on the outside, they're the size of a VW bug, but you go on the inside, it's the size of a football stadium. Like how that works, I have no idea. But I mean, they could put these craft anywhere. It's not like Mork from Ork when his egg could only hold one person or one alien. It's not like that.
Mork.
I think you're onto something with that, my man. Nicole, your thoughts?
So, I guess I kind of got off track on everything. Like, what was your initial? We're talking about the face peeling people that are. I'm interested. I have not read the articles on it, but I just really feel like there are entities down here on Earth. You know what I mean? They're alien. They don't all have to look the same. I've seen like 3 different kinds, and they're totally different, and even in their personality types or their mannerisms or how much like even freedom I had to move around. So I just have a hard time believing that those that are out there but not on the ground beneath us, because I've spent years and years on the Hetlau, like humanoid extraterrestrials live among us. And I'm telling you, I've mapped this out from like every which direction, and it all leads there. So I don't know. It's like half the world's under their spell is what I really think. So it's going to get interesting. It really will. But yeah, that's a cool topic. I'm going to look more into it, Tim. Thank you.
Lorian, your thoughts? Are aliens eating people down in
Well,
Peru?
I don't have a clue, but I'll tell you this. I have been following this story a little bit. And it first came out, and then we saw the flying things, and they did look like out of the guy out of Superman. I mean, Spider-Man. It was quite amazing to me. And then they started kind of looking like, have you guys seen those new jetpacks that the military's using? Where they have the jet engines on the bottom and they kind of, anyhow. Point is, I thought they looked like a modified version of that after I got a second look at them. And they may be miners flying around like that to scare everybody, but the real trick here is our government has always taken a story about true alien contact and turned it into something mundane. So we don't pay any attention. So I'm beginning to wonder if this isn't the real deal, only because of the attention it got to obfuscate it and tell us that it wasn't aliens, that it's now these miners. So that's the best I can take out of it. All the people look pretty genuinely scared that I saw interviewed. They don't look like they're making something up. So somebody is terrorizing them. And again, it could be miners. It could have, but why would the miners have to do that? That's my, you got to ask yourself that question. Why would they have to terrorize a whole village? Why don't they just go in on a pickup truck with guns mounted on the back like they do in Africa and other South American countries and say, we're going to go steal all your silver. We're going to your mine. We're going to steal all your silver. Stay in your houses and don't bother us. That's what they do everywhere else. Why would it be any different?
Children? Maybe they're trafficking children. Like, are the majority of them that are going children, or like?
I haven't heard anything about that in the reports. I've just heard from all of the people on the ground in the interviews that they did see these aliens and they are taking away people. Now, right, you have a very good point there, Nicole, about the trafficking, and they are younger people that are being taken. So possibly this is a very sophisticated way to keep the people of the village who are very superstitious away from the fact that these guys are stealing children for trafficking or teenagers for trafficking. There is that possibility, but I don't know. I think there's I think it's probably 1/3 credible and 1/3 maybe just the miners causing a problem, and then 1/3 the government probably covering it up because they don't want anybody to know the truth either, whether it's the miners or child trafficking or aliens. They don't want them to know. So it's turned into this fantastical story of a wildness, and now it's all a bunch of flying miners, like
jetpacks.
Something's really going on down there, and I'm really glad that Alberino's got on his horse and got down there, and he's going to give us a report soon because he's pretty good.
I don't buy the miner thing at all. I really don't. The one video that came out where they had the alien on the roof, if you pause that and look at the face of it, that to me looks like a mantid being.
Oh.
It completely looked like a mantid being. And the people aren't reporting sound. Those new rocket packs or jet packs that guys are wearing, they're loud. Nobody's reporting that, how loud they are.
True.
And
yeah.
We often sometimes in the excitement try and overlook the obvious. And the obvious would be those jetpacks would make a lot of noise. People aren't reporting a lot of noise. These things are coming in and out. I got a potential photo sent to me today. The only reason why I'm not showing it is because I haven't confirmed whether it's real or not, but of a 10-foot manted gray-like being standing outside one of the huts. Wow. Is it real or not? I don't know. I'm not putting it out there if it isn't real. Right? Could be. I mean, this is where the BS of AI now comes into play.
Yeah. Another description. I have one of the descriptions if you guys want it. They say that they specifically appear to be armored like Green Goblin from Spider-Man. Someone says here that they shot one of them twice and it wasn't injured. He rose up and disappeared. He says that they were very frightened about what was happening in their community. And then he added that their shoes are round shaped, which they use to float. Now they float about 1 meter from the ground, and there's a red light on the heel. And he says here that their heads are long, they wear a mask, and their eyes are yellowish. Now, he includes here that he says they're experts at escaping. And so villagers started carrying out night patrols to hunt down the intruders. And they've actually requested a military presence from authorities, but it takes 10 hours to get upriver there. So we do know that Tim is prepared to go up there and offer up some support. He's taking things like high-powered flashlights, like very simple things that you and I would think are simple, but massive to people that are investigating night intruders. And this is a scary report. I mean, that doesn't sound to me like a technology that's going to be hanging out in the jungles of Peru, being used by jungle miners to scare people away, or even a drug cartel as some sort of punishment to people that come on their property. This is not a technique. So it's interesting, and the report's going to be great, coming forward, no matter what it is, because these reports seem pretty credible, Dave. I mean, I'm kind of with you on that.
Let me paint a picture for you real quick. So think of these things, okay? I believe the levitation aspect of these and the shoes that they said they had on and their armor, right? If you think about some of the sightings that have taken that we've seen from South America and Mexico, where they, in the middle of the daytime, they have these things which look like beams floating across or flying across the sky, right? So you have those. Now think about those two things, and then add in the phenomena that we have here in the United States, known as Jetpack Man. Now, if you remember, Jetpack Man is often seen near LAX, and these pilots are coming in on approach and seeing this, what they think is a person in a jetpack at like 3,000-4,000 feet altitude. So, I mean, it could not be related, but then it could be related potentially. So when you look at that, is Jetpack Man what these things are reported to be in the jungles, which maybe are the same thing that people were filming over the years, floating through the sky? Is possible. Maybe we take that evidence, put it together, and we figure something out.
I think you may have a point there, but the only argument I would have to that, Rob, and I think you make sense. The only argument I have to that is there are no reports of noise coming through from those jetpacks.
Yeah.
From the
No, and I don't think that there would be jetpacks in the idea that we're thinking of jetpacks. Like whatever Tim is reporting on, these shoes with the red light, so these things that aren't making any sound. Jetpack Man, obviously they were in a plane, so they couldn't tell if there was sound or not. But in Mexico, those the ones they had on film, those ones weren't making any sound either. So I think that they would probably be two separate things, so not traditional jetpacks as we know them.
Could be. Could very well be, and that is a very good point. Looking at it from the other side, I think that's an excellent
government black project. Excuse me. I mean, the government holds technology like how many years before us? Think about what they know. You know what I mean? Like that's probably like we can't probably even fathom what they've got coming for us. But how do you think that you tell the difference between AI? Like how is that even? Is it just going to all merge together? You know what I mean? Because my experience, like now it's just, I don't know. I feel like we're going into a realm where we're going to lose the answers that we've like built, Does that make sense?
I think we're close. We're close. AI is going to affect a lot more, and maybe that's something we should get into next, because here's the thing, guys. with AI coming through as heavy as it is recently, and it's not going to go away. But I mean, when we look at it, we also have to look at the idea that there is a good possibility that we're going to have to rely more and more on people's own stories as evidence. It may be anecdotal to some, but we're going to have to rely heavily on people's stories moving forward because videos and photographs now cannot be trusted.
No, they can't. And look
Yeah.
how quick that happened. It was like boom. And they say by next year, if you look at everything in China, like they've got the whole 5D, like, they could smell it, they feel it, like it's just like they're right there experiencing it. And I'm going to tell you, as a psychologist, your brain, when it's that real, cannot define the difference between reality and fantasy. Like your brain records that. So it's a messed up situation. It really is. I think
Totally.
that the best thing, Dave, I always will applaud you for this, is that you bring in the experiencers and you listen. And I truly think, and even before, that everybody was given a mission. And I would love to go down the line and hear that, because I'm going to start asking every experiencer, because I think that's going to start connecting some of the dots. Were you given a mission, Dave? You had a you know what I mean? Like a great apparition of everything.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
Yeah. You're spaced out. I have to know.
No, I
Anybody?
wasn't on any missions that I know of.
Or did they tell you why you were here?
No, they've been boring to me. They don't tell me anything, at least not that I know of.
Now, you're dealing with the Greys, right, Dave?
That's who I've mostly dealt with. Yeah.
Says the man in the black hat.
Any other beings?
That I know of.
I've had tall Greys, short Greys, and ones that look like you and I, except for like their eyes are blacked out. They're reflective beings. I can tell you, I remember that they had like suction cups on their fingers. That was the short Greys. They're the ones that had me restrained. And I remember saying, why am I restrained? And they said, because of contamination. So I think they think we're contaminated. Probably are. I mean, they're probably sterile, right? And that might be where it's going. But the tall Greys let me walk around freely. But then they had, I learned later, because they had all these triangles of like these neon lights going through that ship. Oh God, I have to think about it. Like what it actually was for. So it made sense. I'm like, wow, it's like you put together all these pieces 10 years later. But I really think, I mean, I don't know. Dave, I'll talk, it'll be a side conversation. But I think that, I really do. I think we need to take the next step. We need to define the next step and put words to it.
Not as sleepy and I have more time. How about that?
And I must say, the minute that you mentioned this part, I started writing jokes for Dave with aliens with suction cups on their fingers. I mean, there's so much material right there.
I remember it so clearly because it freaked me out. Like, I don't like octopuses. I don't like anything like that. And I don't like them on fingertips either. And I was like, whoa.
Dave would never have to leave home if he had fingers with suction cups on. Sorry, that's rude.
He'd be climbing the walls.
That's right.
If I never have to leave home, I'm okay with that.
That's right.
Me too. The party's right here,
Sorry.
No.
Well, but your question, Nicole, was has Dave had a mission, and I'm coming up with the fact that I'm starting to figure out that mostly if you just deal with the little gray guys and you're being examined and used in that way, you don't get the mission. I don't know why. Everybody I've talked to that's their main gig, the main thing that they're being used for. I've talked to them and they said, I never really got any mission, but they do get downloads about the planet being in danger and that they've got to do something to help. Whereas the people I've talked to that have dealt with the ones that are like the Plagiarians, the Palladians, the reptilians, even the mantis beings on a much bigger level, they've all said that they told me specifically, you have a mission, you have a job, you have a purpose, and we're going to help you get to that purpose.
I've
Whereas
always
the gray thing is just more generalized in the fact that we're blowing the planet up and we've all got to unite, kind of thing. So there
you know
go.
what that
That's
I've
what I
always
just-
done. After my first experience, I'm like, I want to know. So during the day, I would like repeat questions so I knew to ask them. Like, why am I here? Blah, blah, like, and they told me this, that you're here for communication. Now, what the hell does that mean? I had started going to the grocery store. There's the neighbors. I'm like, well, what anything to stop this? Because there's just like all the in the beginning, it's just like an explosion of them. I can't even describe it. And I'm sure Dave has experienced it. It is. It's crazy. But I always went in there and I'm like, why am I? I had those questions throughout the day. I would keep telling myself, when you're there, so because that gives you more consciousness too, and maybe give you a little bit longer span of what's going on. It's just an idea.
Never know.
Never know.
Never know.
Nope,
Lori, you look like you're losing weight.
I am losing weight.
Good for you.
Yes.
Did you cut out?
Everybody needs to know.
Did you cut out midnight Taco Bell runs?
Oh, I miss my Taco Bell. I haven't been to Taco Bell since we had it in the conference. It's been that long. Well, it's the way it goes.
Mm-mm-mm.
Can we talk about Bigfoot?
Talk about anything you want.
Okay, can we talk about Bigfoot? Because I've never seen a Bigfoot and I've gone out there many of times. And I want to know how you got Bigfoot. Like, because I know then how you described him leaving and like the noise. I can't remember who you were interviewing, but I was watching. I was like stalking your show. See what you're up to.
This is what I would suggest, Nicole.
Okay.
Okay. Find an area where you have a little bit of evidence, whether it's a footprint, whether it's a bunch of X's built in trees, whether it's
is there a noise factor? I have a place and there Bigfoot has been seen there like 6 times. So I do have a place.
Okay. So then
the noise. Oh, go on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Then what I would do is I would set up a gifting site. Just go buy some like cheap toys from the dollar store. Not a lot because you don't want to overwhelm them. Maybe a brush, a mirror, things that are colored like dice or blue or red cars.
Interesting.
And that's what I would do. And then you gotta make patterns there to activate the area. So always park in the same spot. Make sure you try and smell the same. So if you didn't wear perfume that first day, don't wear perfume out there. Okay. What we usually do is we build a fire and we wait for them to come to us. We don't go chasing them. Let their curiosity come to you. Set up a lawn chairs with some friends and have a fire. And
what do you do with the toys?
Hot dogs.
Okay.
That's it.
What do you do with the toys that you got from the dollar store? Do you like throw them out there or like
put them in an area that inside the forest, like from where we have our fire to where our gifting site is probably 70 yards.
Okay.
And then the funny part about it is from our fire to where we actually saw the guy is polar opposite. It's a 180 degree turn there. So
That's fascinating. That really is. So is there any sounds or anything, or you just say you put the gift out there, and it's a lot like UFO, because that's what I'll tell people. If you want to see a UFO, you go to the exact same spot, you do the exact same thing, and and you like
It
pull
all
them in. It
works
takes a couple weeks. Yeah. So it's similar. That's interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I'm gonna try it. So what colors? They can only see red and blue.
no, just their
No,
favorite
that's
thing
just
to play with.
that's just your favorite color. Okay.
Mhm.
Will you to describe the sound that they make?
They kind of sound quite human, actually.
Like, how was the encounter? Like, did they? I don't know. I'm fascinated. I've never seen one. I believe in them 1000%. I know so many people that have told the story, but nobody. I always wanted to find out, because I can give you tips, you know what I mean? Like what kind of tactical lights, how to go out and, signal, all this other stuff, and bring them down, in your head. But Bigfoot's different. He's definitely different.
Oh, yeah.
So is he like, does he just approach and like just ta-da? Or like he sees the gift and becomes more curious?
They sneak up on you.
Oh, ooh.
They're very curious.
Yeah, I bet. So why do you think that they just build a little trust with you? And then how many have you seen?
I've seen 3. I've interacted. So the 3 I saw, 4, 5, 6. That's it.
That's it. That's a lot. So what do you think that do they ever communicate like anything to you that, you take away from it? Or is it more like a telepathic?
They are telepathic. They have given telepathy to my son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Timmy,
your son is great. It's great. But yeah, no, thank you. I'm gonna go out this weekend.
Yeah, go.
Is there any other tools like I need to bring? Like,
nothing.
I mean, my friend Karen was like playing the song, like, or this noise that they make, and
so
I'm
what?
Like,
That's a mating call, and you're a female.
Oh,
and
no,
it's
we're not doing that.
Male.
Okay, never mind.
What if it's a war cry?
No, it's we.
Don't put audio in the forest. You never know what you're saying to the animals.
Yeah, you're right.
David is so right.
Yeah, I know. When I thought about it, I'm like, oh, that's a really bad idea. So thank you, Dave. I really appreciate you helping with this. I have an area, so I'm gonna see what I can find.
Let's go to Timmy Senor here. What do you got for us, Tim?
Are you guys ready for the next topic?
Oh, bring it.
Is that a yes, D?
Yeah, bring it on.
Are we live? Did you want to bring it now?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Okay.
Cut the audio off for the radio side.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, cool. So this might take a minute to get it all out, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be really fun to talk about. So Utah's Brandon Fugel recently has decided to invest in the resurrection of the woolly mammoth. And along with that, We know that in recent years, also, the CIA itself is investing deeply in the technology behind mammoth resurrection. And beyond this interest, we know it's going to happen now at this point for whatever reasons they have. And obviously, we've learned nothing from the Jurassic Park series, but more along the lines of if they were to duplicate humans from their DNA, how possible, would they be able to blend that with lining somebody up for an assassination attempt on a major public person and then put your DNA there? We're getting into some very dangerous waters, duplicating humans from DNA or animals from DNA. And along with AI, we've also been talking about using AI. Now, blend those two together, you've got a pretty weird situation. You want to talk about Star Wars, literally living Star Wars. You could have a fleet of identically um, similar humans as an army. You could literally build your own army with this creation. And this is why I just wanted to pose this question to you. AI, DNA replication, and bringing forth, creatures that have gone away. I mean, that's its own question. But CIA's interest in the replication and using resurrection technology, I think definitely, who are we trying to resurrect? Why are they so curious? And in the wrong hands, what are the kind of trouble we could get ourselves into? Your thoughts?
Lorian, go for it.
This just scares the bejesus out of me. But why the woolly mammoth? I keep wondering why these guys keep doing that. Now, I will say that there have been reports in the last 2 or 3 years that there has been government funded crossbreeding with humans, with pigs and sheep and all kinds of stuff. We've had DNA mixing for quite some while. So, and this is true. This isn't just crazy stuff. It's been in the scientific journals and things like that. Now, the animals themselves that came out of the cross-human DNA process don't look. They still look like animals. They don't look like humans, half human and half animal. But they carry many of our genes and things like that. So, and I don't know how they're living. I haven't followed the project, but my understanding is they're doing this to try to see if that we can find some kind of cross DNA strands that they can start putting in humans that will help us fight disease and make our lives longer, longevity. So I get that, but I still don't understand this obsession with the woolly mammoth, or dinosaurs for that matter. What's the point of that? I'm still trying to figure it out, and I can't comment on this because Brandon Fugel, of all people, I mean, he's the last guy. Yeah, he's the last guy I thought that would say, let's make woolly mammoths and have a woolly mammoth Jurassic Park, What's he going to do with them? What? I don't get it. Is it food? Is that what they're thinking? Is that they're going to start growing woolly mammoth burgers or something?
It's a great
The
question.
woolly burger?
You can clone your dog for $50,000.
Oh, that's right.
Legitimately clone your dog for $50,000. And people like them I talked to somebody who had a laboratory, and they said if you had scientists set up, you had like the area, whatever, then they would allow you to merge all this craziness. So it's like a mad science. Like there's no true regulations on this. I think that they're distracting us with woolly mammoth because they're cloning everybody else. I don't know. It takes 2 skin cells. That's all I'm saying. And I don't like the fact that, and I just feel like the experiencers in all this, like I think we're at the fork in the road, if that makes any sense. Like we either stop and say like, hey, we're not going to get any more information. We're not going to be able to tell what's in the sky. We're not going to, who knows from, as soon, like next year, they said that the whole holographic, like all of that stuff. It was all stuff that I saw in 2017, and it's now here. Like, I don't know if they're warning or whatever, but it's taking, I don't know, it's taking a turn that I do not like. I really don't. I'd love to throw my computer out, but then I wouldn't be on the show. So that's all I got.
Robbie, how about you?
Well, we briefly discussed this the other day when we had Melinda Leslie, who just jumped in the chat. Hey, Melinda, thanks for joining us. Yeah, it just with the woolly mammoth, the thing that I brought up about that is, you know, the woolly mammoth is the thing that they're telling us about. You know what I mean? And then what are they cloning or bringing back that they aren't telling us about? And basically how that can just affect the ecosystem that we have here already established. You know, they've talked about bringing back certain animals, like bringing back to parts of the world where they once thrived. And you know, I see that as being a good thing potentially, because it fills a void in the system that was already there. But yeah, I mean, going if you are bringing back woolly mammoths, then you're probably bringing back something more sinister, something that you're doing behind the scenes, and that's the scary part right there. It's like, what is it? Where does it end? We already know we've been cloning animals, and if you want to be truthful, probably humans, because we've been doing this since Dolly the sheep, what, 30 years ago. And since then, probably in one of those labs somewhere off in a country that isn't regulated, probably cloning humans too. So yeah,
And your food.
yeah, that too.
Yeah,
Like they were
believe it
talking
or
about, I can't remember who it was, but they were like trying to clone like headless chickens.
Ooh,
Like that's just sick.
why? That's
I
horrible.
guess then it saved them a step in the butcher shop. I don't know. It's insanity. And everybody's, you know.
Yeah, believe it or not, the first animal that scientists are recently announcing that they're going to attempt even before the woolly mammoth is the Tasmanian tiger. And they're actually saying that they are attempting de-extinction, is the quote that the CIA is using in their explanation for this. But if it became a human test at any point, do we really want Walt Disney back?
No.
I mean,
Tim, I gotta say something right here. Tim, did you just say CIA?
This is a CIA project right now, correct?
Okay, I thought I heard it wrong. I had to clarify because that scares the bejesus out of me that they're the ones doing the project.
Shouldn't
it be like a Harvard lab scientist project? Why is the CIA
do it in your
involved in
basement?
this?
You can do it in your basement. You can buy a CRISPR kit off of the line for like $250, right? The new thing they say for criminals on getting away with stuff, I know it's a little off topic, they're going to have to change their DNA. You can literally go online and look for yourself, and you can buy all the things you need, and right there in your basement or in your living room. That's how crazy this is. There's no regulations on it. Fair game. I don't know. Tim, would you like to try the CRISPR kit and see, like, if I bought it, like, to see if it, you know?
Well, no. I mean, definitely not. I'm against the whole thing.
Hey, Rob, did you get to finish?
See what they're capable of doing.
Did you get to finish what you were going to say to us?
Yeah, as far as the cloning part went, now the AI, I did want to touch on that. And this is, if you really want to talk scary, this is pretty scary. So just think of, you know, we already seen some of these lifelike AI robots that they've made with facial expressions, all that. Now think of those Boston Dynamic robots, the dogs that they built, the ones that you can kick over and they get their balance back. So think of those, and then think of the other ones that they have that run on the treadmill, the full size bipedal ones, and jump over obstacles, things of that nature. So it doesn't take, and they probably have already weaponized those things. And just think of those things with the direct link, Starlink, for instance, connected to the internet 24/7. They have Google, they have GPS, they have all those things embedded in their internals, and that is something that could be weaponized and instantly turned and become a massive problem immediately. So I think that's probably the most scariest aspect of this AI thing right now, and where we're at with it. We're it's not something that's 5 years down the road. It's literally something that can happen tomorrow if someone were devious enough to go ahead and orchestrate that. So I just wanted to say that on the AI part of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Rob. Very polite. Very polite.
Yeah.
Very polite. I want to say something. I think with certain animals, like the Tasmanian tiger or the woolly mammoth, considering they are going to be in specified areas, we're not all of a sudden going to see Tasmanian tigers running around North America. They're going to be attacking Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand. And, same with the woolly mammoth. I think they'll probably reintroduce them into northern North America, as well as into like Siberia and the Russian area, or Norway or Sweden or Finland as well. So it's not that they are going to be distributing them, where all of a sudden you're going to have woolly mammoths living in Miami. I don't see that. But you're right. There is a collective danger to this because, we humans are great at coming up with great ideas, but it always seems to have to pass the nefarious side first, which is the military. So are they going to use that to build super soldiers, create monsters, alien invasions? That's the scary part that I think.
Can I pose a question?
Please.
Sure.
We only use a certain portion of our brains. What if we are actually have been suppressed, that we are actually as smart as AI? Like if we activate our brain, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe what they're learning is all based on our algorithm. They're not discovering anything new. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I think I start to get nervous when CIA gets involved. Kind of what Lorian was saying. I mean, in their own words here in this article, it says here that they're less likely and to be interested in doing this investment. It's less likely about the animals in question and more about the capabilities of the technology. And so the government obviously wishes to have eyes and ears on the latest advances in biotechnology. And so they go on to say this, which is interesting, that sure, technology could shape ecosystems through the reintroduction of organisms, which is a form of ecological engineering. And that may form part of the national disputes of tomorrow. So basically, the CIA is trying to get a jump on what they're saying in our potential future as ecological engineering. We already know they have a hand potentially in the weather. Why not in engineering and reintroducing species where they feel that they should be reintroduced? And never mind Darwin, by the way. We'll just make these executive decisions because we can and because we have the DNA preserved. Oh, now, never mind. We may have a little of this evil person's DNA. Now, hopefully this time he won't turn out so evil. Or this really good person, hopefully he's also a genius when we reintroduce him. Like, we know we have Walt Disney frozen somewhere. Do we really want to introduce him? And will he be Walt Disney? He may just be like a kid that just likes to bully other kids on the playground. Who knows?
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, you even
but
look
why
at
are they keeping it secret? That's a question. Why? That's all I want to know is like, going through all of this, like why, like we can go round and round and round about what's going to happen. But I'm telling you, anytime I have ever started to a project, and Dave knows like kind of the bits of it, people come out of the woodwork, our own people attacking, and that is what really needs to stop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's so skeptical, and so, but at some point you got to trust somebody. I'm not saying trust the government, but I'm saying like that's the way I work. Like, it takes me a while. Like, I've watched Dave for years and years and years, and I've never seen him waver. I've never seen him take the deal. So that's, it's just it gets so messy quick. I don't know what is, like, is it a jealousy behind it? Everybody's waiting. Not one, I put my life on it. One person, 50 people are not gonna, they're not going to be disclosure. They're gonna be some sort of government black budget project, and then everybody's gonna be looking around for it. But you lose that. I think you'll lose that connection that you have. It's like I have a connection, which sounds bizarro, but I have a connection with light balls that I see in the sky. And it's like, or discs go by, like I feel them. Like Dave said, I used to know when to go out. I could feel it. And within a couple minutes, boom. So I don't know. It felt like, like you bonded, like a real strong connection. When in day after day, and sometimes no, but it was pretty consistent. And different ones would come with a different, like, tactical lights. I'll have to go through again, and I'll ask Christos Rapallo and see, because he's really, really good at it. So yeah, I love to hear Dave, and I love to hear like how you guys have, how people have found them or experienced them. Like, is there some sort of connection? Is there a great play, So that's awesome. I got my Bigfoot location, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I look at it, like with Elon Musk and AI and everything, where he wants to, take Neuralink and help people.
Yeah.
Like, I love that idea. Tim, we've talked about that on this show before. Okay. I love the idea. If it could make horrid diseases like Alzheimer's or Lou Gehrig's disease or dementia go away, or help paralyzed people walk again, that's a win. But we
People
also
want to
have,
be on the forever planet, then you'll be on the forever planet.
well, I mean, it's like the $6 billion man, right?
What do you do?
And, but I mean, if it's something like it's going to be used to all of a sudden create more Manchurian candidates out there, like Jason Bourne, do we really need that in our world? I mean, you take somebody like already seen
I
the
think
ugly.
that we need to learn what our little superpowers are, because we know that we have them. We've all, any experiencer, there's something there. So it's like, if we can put our heads together, we're very smart people. I've never ran into an experiencer who wasn't really aware. So I'm just saying, we need to collaborate here and like take all the, like, Dave, my God, you hold a library of stuff. If we need like some of that organized, I really do. I would love to see people start inventing things like the glasses, that they say, but start inventing like full spectrum, do different tests. Like, I'm willing to, if like set a certain time and, you know what I mean, meditate and go under. Like, there's so many things that we could be doing to connect with one another. But that's just my opinion. That's all I have. Sorry.
But I mean, you look at Lori, and you have seen the uglier side of ufology with my labs, with things like that. The way super soldiers, you were pretty much the mother hen of all super soldiers there for a while, going back in time. I mean, it's something where you've seen where this technology goes. I mean, your opinion is important here on this.
Well, it all scares me because I have seen some visions given to me by whoever I deal with, And like I said, I think they're benevolent, nice, whatever they are. They've been good to me. I have never had a horrible experience with them. And one of the things they have shown me is the fact that we have a real bad problem as human beings on this planet, not using each other for evil purpose. And this whole cloning thing, this whole, bringing back the woolly mammoth, for example, developing Manchurian candidates and super soldiers. There's just this dark side where we can't stop as human beings abusing another human being. And where does that come from? I talk to my ETs about this all the time. I said, look, I was born a clean slate as far as I can tell. And I never hated anybody or judged anybody or did anything weird. So what are they doing now? Are they developing something that comes in with, and this is going kind of off topic, but not really. Are they developing a clone or a woolly mammoth, for example, that might have an evil streak when it's born so they can exploit it and use it? It's not the Clone Wars, you guys, because in the Clone Wars, they built all these robotic clones with no emotion. What is our government doing behind the scenes? Are they developing something that's got an evil streak to it? And I'm beginning to wonder if that isn't real, because all of the people like Noel Harari, look at this dude, scares the hell out of me. I'm not sure where he thinks that all people need to be controlled and told what to do at every level, including having nanotech in their body so they can control their medical, their body at a medical level, at a cellular level. I mean, where do we get off acting like gods like this?
Right.
This is very scary at one side. And then, like you said, Dave, there's the great side to all this about the fact that we might live forever. We might be able to cure disease. I mean, there's some really wonderful things coming out of the experimentation, but I don't trust us as humans. I really don't.
Have you ever dug into Project Montauk and where the black matter is coming up? This is the planet I don't think you want to stay forever on. I'm just saying, like, this is not, I think they're going to try, but whatever darkness that they have, and then you look at CERN and you can start really going round and round on the Mayan calendar. But you know what? Ethiopia is 7 years behind. It would have matched up. I mean, there's so many crazy things out there that I don't think we're the first pioneers by any stretch of our imagination. We're playing somebody else's game. Their architecture, but we need to learn to put words to them. Like when I was like big into the Hetla, I spent years learning this language. So we would say ETVs because they're ET vehicles. They're not UFOs. They're not, until we put certain things on them. Unidentified. Get rid of the unidentified. I had one come down on the road. And I have a video of it. It's a horrible video, but they analyzed it and they saw it was a triangle and the thing swarmed and shot off. Like, I mean, they didn't laser me or shoot me or anything. They beat me at my own game. It was playful. So I don't know. That's where I have a hard time saying, hey, what's on the ground? Yeah, well, maybe the government created the paste, like or who knows, maybe your neighbor did in their basement, created something that has a peeling face, you know what I mean, escape from wherever. I mean, that they really need to regulate this. I mean, this is God and not God, you know. It's not good. It won't end well.
I'm sure it has the ability to, just in case.
I hope so, Dave. I really do.
Lori, I'm going to ask you this question as we move on topics. This might be our final topic of the night here. And my question to you is this: how come we're not hearing a lot about new cases of alien abduction and real good encounters like Travis Walton, like the Andreassens, like Betty and Barney Hill, like Stefan Mikulik? They seem to have vanished.
Kenneth Arnold, yeah.
Well, that's because of the conferences, for starters, for the entertainment that etiologies turned into. And there's another factor to all this is the person that it's happening to, they have to make a decision right away whether it's a private thing or it becomes an entertainment thing. Because that's really where it comes down to now. If I got taken tomorrow and I wasn't Lori and Fenton, I was just some Joe Blow, I would contact Lori and Fenton because I'm the Northern California MUFON lady, and so they all contact me. And the first thing they say is, I don't want anybody to know about this. 90% of the people that get a hold of me now, I don't want anybody to know about this. I don't want to end up on TV. I don't want to end up as a story. I don't want to be that person, right?
It never
And
happens, though. So what do you do with the data?
Okay, well, let me finish what I'm going at here. So
Sorry.
the point is, they don't want to end up in what they call the UFO zoo, because that's really what it comes down to. You've got all these people like Travis Walton still hanging in there. He still does conferences. He's on TV all the time. We could just go down the row of all the people. Whitley Strieber's another one. He's very famous and he does all that. Now, what if they become that person and they don't want to be, you know? I have a couple, you guys probably know about this as well, the Mojave incident. Everybody familiar with that? You know, that couple, they will never, I know people that know them, and I know Ron Feldman, the guy who wrote their book, and I have approached them probably 50 times over the last 15 years. Please come and speak at my conference because you guys had the most extraordinary experience. And they said, Lorian, we're never going to talk because it's not a thing for the government or anybody else to exploit. It's a personal experience, and we don't want it out there. Now, I only half answered your question, Dave, because that's the part of the people out there who don't want them to become. They don't want to be the laughing stock of their life. Okay, that's basically what they tell me. Now, the other part to this is, a lot of people come forward and they've had a little tiny experience or they've had a huge experience and they want to be famous. Now, this is what I'm hearing. It's like so bizarre to me. I don't get people like Travis Walton coming to me and saying, I'm petrified. What happened? Can you help me? They come to me and say, can you make me famous? Literally, I've heard that like 20 times in the last year from people that are, they've had extraordinary experiences. And if I can't make them famous, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to share their story. They don't want to do anything, And what if? So what I'm saying here is, Dave, there's really no cut and dry answer to that anymore because there's too many other factors going on about the fact that, oh yeah, I could be on TV or, whatever. Nobody's really happy. I'm going to give you one example and then I'm going to stop. Barbara, the lady from Germany who gave her presentation this year at my conference, she's had an extraordinary, her story is extraordinary, okay? She wanted to get on stage one time and talk about it, and that was it, and that was lovely. And what I'm going to suggest to people out there is, please, if you've had an experience, please get up on a stage at least one time and share that experience with people. Don't expect to be famous. Don't expect to get paid for it. Don't hold out and write that famous script or your book. Get up on a stage at some local event or a MUFON meeting, share your experiences, and see where it goes from there. Because from that, talking about it in front of a group of people, you may have a mission you don't know about, which will propel you into being maybe on stage more often. Maybe there's people you can help. You don't know until you do it. But it's a multifaceted answer to a very complex question in reality, Dave. So I hope I helped.
Somewhat. What do you think, Rob?
Actually, I'm glad you picked me next because what Lorian just said, I totally resonate with that. And I agree that, it does no good for someone with an experience to hold it in. And everyone should definitely speak out and talk about their experiences. And it's funny because that's kind of what I do with this call-in show. Is I have a platform where experiencer are able to do just that. They're able to step up there, and these are people who have held it in forever and hadn't really considered uh, how much just their sighting or just their statement adds to the overall conversation, and that we actually need everybody out there who has had an experience to step up and at least let it out and just put it on file, put it on record, for for to who knows who can benefit from hearing about your experience or hearing that statement. So totally resonate with Lauren said, and that's exactly I believe the same thing. And yeah, just wanted to add that to that.
Love it. Love it. How about you, Timmy?
Oh yeah, and film it. For goodness sakes, film it, please. And Rob, this one's for you. Which way should they hold their phone when they're filming?
Upside down.
This
I saw
guy.
the YouTube video.
This guy. There it is. There it is, horizontally. Yeah. But I absolutely, and you asked me briefly earlier if I would even be a whistleblower if I had the information. If I was in David Grush's shoes, would I do it? Yes, I'm that guy. The minute I was sure that I didn't, that my sighting wasn't a military secret and that I wasn't outing something I shouldn't by showing my video and photos of my UFO experience with my family, I did it because I wanted to see if anyone else had seen it, if it was real, and MUFON found it compelling. So I found it compelling. So I immediately, that's why I'm here today. Literally same reason, as Rob is. He had something that motivated him into the public eye with what he had, and he believed in it that much. Right. And so did I to an extent. And I initially came out with my pen name, which is interesting because I wasn't sure how I was going to be received. And I think in the very next opportunity I had to go public, I used my real name because I realized that it's as important to use my real name as it is to give the details of the UFO experience. So I changed to my more public name, which is Tim Senor. But it's important. And that's also part of the mindset of somebody that has this, like you are, and for me, especially, you don't know how you're going to be received. And so you want a bit of anonymity. It's a very strange topic to come forward with, especially if you have evidence that can be scrutinized, right? So for people that go through it daily, that have real experiences, that's very real to them, they're looking for other places that they can share it. It's places like this that they can come and hear other people's stories and compare notes. And that's why it's important. But everyone should, I believe, come forward, and the community needs to be a little lighter on the people that do so. Otherwise, we're going to be scared off. We don't want that.
Well, there's no point in even coming out. I mean, you look at the harassment that Elizondo has taken. You look at the harassment Grush has taken. You look at the harassment that long-time ufologists, whether it's Richard Dolan or Lorian or Melinda Leslie or Grant Cameron or even Stanton Friedman took for covering this subject. Okay, I mean, that's just the harassment as online as this subject has become more popular has really destroyed a community that I mean, yeah, there were people undercutting before, there always has been, but now with the voices of YouTube and podcasts and everything else, and everybody and their dog having a podcast out there, that's where it's really destroyed a lot of ufology. And look, everybody's allowed a voice. I mean, that's the beautiful part of living in a democracy, is you're allowed a voice, unless you're here in Canada where Trudeau doesn't like that kind of stuff. You're allowed to to be a jerk on a microphone. Doesn't mean you're right, but that freedom of speech sure does give you that right.
Understood. Makes total sense.
And like I've always said over the last number of years, if I had that smoking gun footage of a Bigfoot or of a UFO landing with aliens walking out, I don't know if I would ever release it. What's the point?
Right.
Why do I want
everything that it goes from MUFON goes right out the back door to the CIA, and that's what we're trying to keep it from.
I don't care about that. It's the online harassment that you're you look at Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson.
Oh God.
Bob Gimlin is 95 years old and still taking 50 plus years later, taking harassing phone calls and emails and videos calling this man a liar and a thief and a grifter and threatening his family back in the day, threatening his life, threatening his grandchildren. He screwed his family for generations for doing what?
I had the same thing happen, and the guy this is no joke. The guy lost like 80 pounds and came back, and I didn't recognize him. He's like, if I dare put up a video of my own on YouTube, it starts, and it's like, it's not worth it. It really isn't. So that's why I said I'm gonna be a lifer here. I don't want to have my own channel. I like being a team because then that way you have some protection. You know what I mean? So I've gotten Twitter, good old Danny. I mean, like they were coming at me, and I mean, it was unbelievable because I made one statement, and it was like, man, and it split the community completely, and people that are there, like they're, I don't know.
This happened to you?
Yeah, I could tell you what it's about, but I'll tell you off air.
Well, no, yeah, okay. It just sounds horrible. I'm sorry you had that experience.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I learned how to deal with it. It was bad though. I'll explain it in chat because there's big names. I got it.
I get it. Oh,
and
I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
I think, Dave, what is more so is that it's the stigma, right? I think that feeling that you're feeling and the attacking comes from the stigma. And the thing is, the only way for us to break the stigma is to go ahead and get those stories put out there. And, if you look at ufology and the way that it's considered like a niche topic, and we're the minority, and that just is, I think some of that comes from a lot of people being afraid to come out and talk about their sightings, because if everyone did, then you probably find out that it's the majority that have actually had some sort of experience or a sighting. And then with being the majority, then you have more weight to push around out there. So I think that's one of the real reasons that people need to get over that fear of talking about that, so we can look around and realize that everybody is having these experiences, not just the people here who are brave enough to admit it, but also the thousands, millions of people out there who say, you know what, I'm not going to say something because I'm afraid of someone ridiculing me, or I'm afraid of being harassed or called names. That's actually stigma, and we're breaking that right now with everything we're doing in the news and in the press, with whistleblowers coming out and things of that nature. And we need to break that on a personal level, just as individuals, by not being afraid to talk about the sighting. Let it out, just like any other experience that you may have, something, traumatic thing that you don't want to talk about based on ridicule. It's still something that you have to let out for therapeutic reasons at the very least. And then for the bigger picture, to actually get this conversation moving forward. We can't stay in that mindset.
Yeah,
I
and
have
just
ideas on how to organize the information, but the thing of it is like MUFON, they're just taking. I have a lot of buddies with one who's currently being attacked for his research, but it's like they know that back door is just all flowing out. Like, why can't we? There's similarities, you know, like there. When you come out of it, it's not like you just like snap out of it. It took me like 2 or 3 days after an experience. I was so, you know, just like trying to even comprehend what the hell just happened to me. So, I mean, there's like all these things that go along with it. And I think that if anybody came and said, I want to be famous right off the bat, I would be like, yeah, probably not an experiencer.
red flag.
Probably not. Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So that's
and-
how I base everything. I'll even ask Dave, I'm like, are they an experiencer? Like, because it's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. I just wanted to also say when Rob came out, I met Rob pretty early on. And when you came out with your sighting, the first people before he went to public, I believe you sent it directly to like all of the skeptics you could find.
Yes.
Because you're like, I want to get the worst of it off. Like, just give me everything that it's, you know, give it to me. That way, everything else will be palatable. And I thought that was an interesting way to go about it, like right into the fray. It was very courageous
That's what I
of
did
you.
too. I went to Lions Ground and they had them tear it apart. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the person who's most skeptical with all of this. Smart move. It really is. I agree.
Yes,
So you're
sir.
going to take it,
Sure.
you know, like that's what you got to do for sure. And let them pick it apart.
Yeah, you shouldn't be afraid of skeptics looking at your data. Just put it out there, and then if it gets verified, great. If it gets debunked and picked apart, great too, because then you can move on, you know, with your life and not wonder what was or what it could have been. And you know, I think that's just a great approach to take.
What if we could start to organize the data?
Starts with everyone coming out and talking about their experiences.
For the experiencers, yeah. I have some ideas, like, but I'm saying until experiencers like there's a scale, you know what I mean? And if it's somebody like, okay, when I first experienced my first few, you should have heard me talking. I still have my vlogs about it. They're private. I want to share it. I sounded like a total like, oh, and this and that, you know, it's just, but it was crazy. The adrenaline and the experience, it like made you want to go out and find more. And just the connection that you get with them is, I don't know. Is that kind of the connection you get with Bigfoot, Dave?
Not really.
No, you don't.
I just wanted to interject something. Nicole just said that she wanted to gather all the data. I can guarantee you this, and I know it's a fact. Our government has more data about contactees than you guys can shake a stick at. They know more about who we are, what we consist of. Don't tell me that Kit Green and Gary Nolan and those guys and Hal Puthoff haven't been putting their chops in for 40 years. These guys know everything. They know
But let
our
me
blood
tell you
types.
what I'm saying. Like, yeah, our blood types, everything. But what if we had all the information that they were asking experiencers to get, and we somehow reverse engineered it to figure out what? Because I've got some documents, and it's all inclusive. So maybe we can figure out why they were looking for us, what is different about us, like, you know, commonalities, and we could build off of that. That's all I'm saying. Like, we have to, if we're talking
But
about
what would we do with it? I'm just curious, Nicole, what would you do with it? That information? Because the ETs have already showed me all the answers to any of the questions we want to ask anyhow. So, and in my opinion, we all have those answers within us if we're contactees.
Right. But we're how many years into this? Like when you have somebody in their first year or second year, you know what I mean? And there's common, like I said, I remember like sleeping with my window open or always having to have a window open. Like there was just weird things that connected us. So it kind of helped weed out the people who weren't, that were there, like that, I've met them before. People who make the shit up, or excuse me, make the stuff up. So it's one or two things, so you got to weed them out. And I think that is, a way of doing that. And then also maybe it will lead us into a new direction. But us sitting here doing nothing with it is, I think that's at least better. What if it fails? Great. We tried it. Now what are we going to try? It's just like, we got to keep coming up with ways, like, and everybody's just stuck in a certain spot and they're waiting for the government. Don't wait for the government. AI will be here long before they give us any information. They've done this a bazillion times. It's the same song, same dance. Like, it's different people, but it's the same thing. And everybody's waiting on it. It's like,
yeah, but so what? I'm sorry, I'm totally confused. So what are you saying that we need to do? I mean, I don't understand. Are we supposed
I'm saying that we need to come up with a plan. Like, we're the people, and we're the ones that truly have the answer.
Nicole, a plan for what?
A plan. Well, okay, so let's think ahead here. If we don't have you have a fire or emergency drill, like if something happens, this is going to be chaos between everything. You know what I'm saying? But our whole thing is if you push disclosure before they were ready, then
okay, so we're talking about disclosure here.
Some of it you can look at what they're like. I guess I do explain. Let me back this up a little bit. So I'm just saying that I feel, and I was told that there are contactees that are supposed to come together. I mean, they can come together. So I'm always looking for it. And I think that it will help identify too, because we're all in different, we might be in the same, like for that, we might be in a different part of that. But if we don't figure out like I have a rare blood type, it's like AB negative. So, like my grandma was Rh negative. Like, is that, so I think that if I think after the show, I can explain a little bit more. But like I said, if it's a bad idea, it doesn't work. But at least we're trying to get to the next step of communication.
I think what you're trying to say is that we are, as a group of experiencers, we need to start finding each other and sharing our experiences and becoming strong in the fact that we're not alone.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Okay, great. Good.
And then and like I said, it took it a step further, but I can explain more when we're out there. But the thing of it is that if we're stronger. Have you ever felt someone's energy that has like, it's like magnets, like boom, I can tell like the feeling. And I'm thinking, man, if we could get how many of us and we have that energy, can you imagine what we could do? I really, honest to God, believe that.
Well, there's a whole story about a group of 24 people who got together, 12 couples, and actually changed time. And that's another whole story that for another day. But yeah, we're very powerful. Humans are extremely powerful, very psychic, and we have been suppressed by many means, primarily religious doctrine. But yeah, we are very powerful, and we need to wake up to that.
The thing is that we're not. It's not day one for us. This is not day one. Like I grew up seeing spirits, so that was normal to me. It's like to everybody else, like, oh, what do you mean? And it's just like, so I think that people who are open and like, if we could get and I'm not saying keep the people who are just starting this experience out. I'm saying find the ones that have that and who are willing to do it and pull that energy. Because I really think that I don't think they stand a chance when we do that. But they're putting us and scattering us all over the country and all over the world. So it's hard for us to connect. I think that's great that Tim and
Well, then Nicole, I think you ought to get to my next conference because it's all experiencers. You can't even get on my stage unless you're an experiencer. And I do have a few exceptions to that because I've got a couple friends like Steve Bassett that absolutely is an advocate for experiencers, and I let him on stage.
I like him. Yeah,
you
we
know,
had him on. He was great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Steve's wonderful. But I drew the line 13 years ago when I started my conference because I saw what was happening. It was a bunch of people who had never seen a UFO on a stage telling me all about ufology. And I was like, wait a minute, something is really wrong with this picture. Who's actually in control here? So I started UFO Con with a gentleman the first year, and I said, can we just have experiencers? And he said, no, we got to have a mixture of both because we got to have people there that are famous to sell a ticket. And I said, you know what? I think we can bypass that. Well, we didn't the first year. And the second year, he decided he didn't want to work with me because I insisted upon this. And I started to grow my event. And now it's a pretty, it's not huge, but it's not small either. And it's important because people understand that what I'm doing is actually giving the experiencers a stage who have never spoken before. And that is what, Dave, 3/4 of the people that get on my stage.
You have amazing guests. Amazing.
Yeah, but no one knows their names. No one knows who they are. They certainly aren't Nick Pope or Richard Dolan or, any of those guys that are at every conference. So yeah, it's a very different kind of event.
On that note, we're going to say goodnight tonight. Lori and Fenton. Senor, Nicole, and Rob. We'll see you on the weekend. Big thank you to Louis ×2, Cat Chaser, Pam H, Gregory in Thailand. Hold on. Stacy, and there was one more on here. One more. And I missed it. I know it's up here somewhere. Hold on. I'll get it. I'll get it. Phase well.
They're so funny.
Dave, click the starred tab. You see the starred tab?
No, they're supposed to automatically go up.
Yeah, if you go to the starred tab, they're all listed there.
Yes, I know, but this one wasn't listed.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. All right, guys. Team, you hold on, and the rest of you have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.
Lord,
thanks,
get in touch
everybody.
with me. Yeah, get in. I'd love to hear more about your conference. Get in touch with me.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.